Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Red Devil Experience. Hope everybody is doing well. We are live tonight. We got a serious one. Bruno Fernandes has dropped an explosive interview in Portugal. And the big line that's everywhere today is he said, and quoted, "The club wanted me to go." He's talking about last summer when a huge offer came in from Saudi club Al Hilal, around £100 million, crazy wages, the whole thing. And Bruno is saying people at Manchester United were basically ready to cash in on him, and it left him feeling hurt and sad. At the same time, United are briefing out today that they have no desire to sell Bruno Fernandes. He's still central to the long-term plan, and they're insisting he remains a key part of Ruben Amorim's project. So tonight we're asking, is Bruno being betrayed by the club? Did Ineos do the right thing? Which side are you sort of taking here? Are you taking Bruno's side? Are you taking the club side? Because Bruno's sort of saying one thing, the club's coming out and sort of saying another thing through briefs, through journalists. Is this just some sort of a messy misunderstanding from an interview that's blown up? But before we get into all of it, do me a favor, smash a like on the stream. It helps drag more Reds in here. If you're new, subscribe, turn on notifications. We're live regularly, talking all things United, transfers, and chaos like this. Let's, start straight away with the poll. We got the poll live, and I just kick it off to, would you sell Bruno Fernandes? You have three options here. Should United sell Bruno in the summer if a huge offer comes in? Yes, cash in and rebuild. No, build around Bruno, or only if he pushes to leave. Is your three options. But let's just get straight into this. Let's kick it off. Let's sort of hit it head on. So let's break down what Bruno actually said, because it's not just one line. It's a whole feeling. It's a giant statement. So number one, he confirms there was a massive offer from Al Hilal in the summer, be around 100 million euros, 100 million pounds, something like that. And I think it was 80 million pounds, 100 million euros, and wages that would have blown his current deal out of the water. He says very clearly he could have earned a lot more money, and even says a year earlier he could have gone somewhere else and won many trophies this season if he'd move. But he chose to stay, and he said those reasons are for family reasons, because he genuinely loves the club, and after a conversation with Ruben Amorim, who wanted him to stay. Now, that much we knew. The killer bit is how he says he felt from the club side, if you're, sort of in the sentimental aspect. He said a couple things along the lines of, once you hit 30, people in England start talking about rebuilds and moving players on, which is true. He felt United were looking at him like, if you go, it's not that bad for us, which in my opinion, it's true in terms of, listen, I love Bruno Fernandes. I think he's an excellent player. He just scored a wonderful goal for us. He's been, probably, I always say he's our best post-Fergie signing, for the price, for the impact he's had, for the consistency that he's had. Considering all, you take a look at all the other transfers, I think he's the best one we've ever gotten since, Sir Alex Ferguson retired from this football club. So, listen, I think it is. I looked at it in the summer. I did say, and I do sort of agree with that sort of stance in a certain bit, that, if he does go, it's not that bad for us. Yes, we're losing a player that I like and that I think is a top talent, but I always made the argument that sometimes you got to sacrifice one guy for maybe the betterment of the club. And if we were able to get that amount of funds and redistribute it into the team, sort of like what Liverpool did to Coutinho, that's always been my argument. It could be better off for the team. It's not a guarantee. Maybe I'm wrong in that. Maybe we did that and maybe we'd be, worse. But I think it's a logical thing to think about. I think it's a logical thing to have a discussion about. So, yeah. He also went on to say he felt United, I said that. He felt like United were looking at him like, if you go, it's not that bad for us, which I do think that's just like normal. He said that hurt him. He literally says it hurt and made him sad because he's someone who's always available, always playing. and given everything. And I could understand from his point of view how that might make him feel hurt, sad, maybe a little bit like, unwanted. But my whole thing is, I guess it wasn't enough for him to leave. I mean, we've always had this discussion, and, there was a lot of if, ands, or buts, question marks. Nobody really knew sort of where the truth lied. We've gotten a little bit of a clearer indication, but there's still three truths. There's United's truth, there's Bruno's truth, and then there's the true truth that's in the middle somewhere. But it's, before it was much wider. Now it's been narrowed down a bit because we're getting both sides, and you can kind of sort of narrow down the picture a lot more. But, I mean, he still chose to stay. So even if he might have felt hurt or maybe even betrayed in some sort of sense or sad, I guess it wasn't enough for him to leave, or maybe his love for the club and, not the people running the club, just superseded that, because, I mean, he chose not to go. I mean, he also said for family reasons, but one of the reasons he said is that genuinely loves the club, and also Ruben. So maybe the reasons for him staying outweighed sort of that hurt, or that sadness that, they gave him. And, he even talked about loyalty and says loyalty isn't viewed the same way anymore. Says he could have done what some players do, which is down tools, refuse to train, force a cheap move to get a big contract elsewhere. But he never did that because he felt the connection to the club. Then he drops the line that's literally everywhere, and that is that he said the club wanted me to go. And he says he told the directors that he believes they didn't have the courage to make that decision because the manager wanted him to stay. And if he'd gone to them and said, I want to leave, he thinks the club would have let him go, even with the coach wanting him to stay. He is also a little dig at some of his teammates, talking about players who, in his eyes, don't value or defend the club as much as he does, and how that makes him sad when he's giving everything. He also said, and finally on Saudi, he said he doesn't rule it out. Says if he ever plays in Saudi, it won't be for the money. It'd be for lifestyle, son for his kids, and a growing league, sorry. And so that's the picture from Bruno's side. He's stayed out of love and loyalty. He feels the club were more open to him leaving than people realized, and he's hurt by the idea that money might matter more to them than he does. So, chat, I want your first reaction to his side of the story, because we're going to get into United's side of the story. Do you feel sorry for Bruno after hearing that, or do you think he's being a bit dramatic? Because, I don't know, for me, listen, I think the timing is a bit weird. It's not great. He's obviously done this when he went with Portugal. He's done an interview. It was like set up by Portugal national team, and this is the interview that he gave. So we're getting it now. I don't really like the timing of it, but I will say, and I will be fair, that I think this clearly was bothering him. I think he's genuinely... I do buy that. I think he's genuinely upset by that. I think he's genuinely hurt, because I don't see any other reason for you to say what you're saying at this moment in time. We're in the mid-December. We're about like almost halfway through, a little bit less halfway through the season. I think this has been bothering him for quite some time. I think he has been, even in the beginning, towards the earlier stage of the season, I was watching him, and I think I said it once or twice, and I was like, something, is wrong with Bruno. He doesn't seem like the Bruno we know. He seems a bit off. Something was wrong, and I think this was bothering him. I think he was quite bothered by this. I think there might have been a slight bit of damage done in terms of, where his head is with the club. He even said that it's in his head. It's been in his head. And I just think that it's... Listen, it's a hard one to break down. I've seen some people having a go at Ineos for this. I've seen some people sort of, reacting to Bruno, either saying they're not buying it, or... they're mad at him for the timing of the release. I've seen a lot of sympathy towards Bruno. So it's been a bit of a mixed reaction all over the place. Lyle is here. What's up, Lyle? And Lucky's here as well. How you guys doing? But yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a mixed one here. And the only things that I can kind of say on this is, listen, I understand from his point of view how you might feel and see if the club kind of, because really what happened is United weren't necessarily looking to sell him. And like the discussions that many of us had when this came about, and we kind of still had some of the same discussions, after the case was sort of closed, was that you know when this first dropped, when there was this Saudi bid, this offer, I think the general consensus was most people were like, you at least have to think about it. You at least have to consider it, because it's a lot of money on the table, and you could use it to reinvest into the squad, and you might be able to buy one or two really good players that we massively need. And we needed midfielders, and we didn't do it. So from what I can say, and before I get to the club's stance, but from the club's perspective, I don't really know if I feel too aggrieved by that, because what it seems like is they didn't really force his hand and they left it up to him. And one of the values that I hold, and I've always held, and I will always continue to hold, is if a player tells you that they don't want to be at the football club, then it's bye-bye. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much I like you. It doesn't matter how much I want you to stay here. If you want to leave, if you choose to leave, then we'll let you go. And they sort of left it up to him, is what we seem to be getting. They sort of left it up to him. And I mean, even from Bruno's standpoint, he kind of says that they left it up to him, but he comes off feeling like, well, you didn't really want me to stay, because it didn't seem like you were like trying to fight for me in a certain sense. It was just more like, well, we will sell you, but not really. It's sort of this thing where he was like, is trying to say, like, because they didn't have like a 100% opinion of like, absolutely not, we're not selling him because he's so great and he's our best player, that he's felt sort of betrayed a little bit, or hurt in a certain sense, about this sort of stuff. But I think from the club's point of view, I don't find too much of a problem with it. I don't. I mean, I think in fact, I kind of criticized him a little bit, because we talked about in the past, we all knew Ruben Amorim wanted him to stay. Bruno's made it quite clear that Ruben wanted him to stay. That's been confirmed by Fernandes's mouth. We've always said that it didn't really seem like Bruno wanted to leave, and he's confirmed that from his interview. And then there was always the question of sort of the club, because ultimately it didn't seem like they pushed him. They were trying to actually push him out the door. And there was a lot of, were they even interested in actually letting him go? Because there was always 4 parties involved, which is United, Ruben, Bruno, and the club that's trying to buy him. And, from this standpoint, where Bruno has explained, I actually think that the club probably did what they were supposed to do. They didn't actively try to sell him. They didn't actively, they didn't float the idea themselves. It was something that popped up, and I think they would have been foolish not to give it a thought. I think they would have been foolish not to, sort of be like, hey, there's an offer on this table, Bruno. We're not really looking to sell you, but like, if you want to go, let us know. We'll have a discussion about it. Because ultimately, if Bruno was like, you know what, I'm thinking about leaving, or I might not want to stay here, you don't want a player that doesn't really want to be here, do you? So I can understand how he feels a bit hurt by it, but I mean, to me, I think the club was just doing what the club had to do. So, and, let's just get on to the club's sort of stance and point, because they've sort of pushed back in terms of updates and, briefs that they've done to journalists, and these things have come out. And the club sources are insisting Bruno after this has dropped, they've released a bunch of stuff to the journalists. So club sources are insisting Bruno is central to what they want to do going forward. They stressed this interview was recorded weeks ago, not yesterday, because there was a video of Bruno Fernandes. The reason why they're saying it's not yesterday and why they're trying to make it sort of a distinct difference is because yesterday after the match, obviously Bruno scored the goal to put us ahead, and we ultimately we bottled it. And there was a lot of passion from him, and there was a video circulating after the 90 minutes. Bruno was walking around the pitch on Old Trafford after the whistle's gone, and he was clearly visibly upset. He was distraught. Listen, you can say what you want about him, but I don't think people could say whatever they want, but I can never say that he's never given us 100%. He's had good days, he's had bad days. Sometimes your bad days are you're not at your best, but I think even his bad days, he's given as much as he can, even if it's not good enough. I've never not seen him try to a certain extent. I've never seen him walk. Even the couple times where he might have had injuries we don't know about, or there was an injury, he's always tried to make himself always readily available. We can rely on him to constantly be available. I mean, he's always available. And so the reason why they're making that distinction is because there was that video clip of Bruno walking around, and he was quite clearly upset. He was very upset the fact that we didn't get the win. He was upset that we bottled it, and he thought he scored the winner, and he was walking around the middle of the pitch. And you could just tell his body language. He was going like this. He just and he couldn't believe it. I don't know who he was talking to, but he was talking to somebody out there. Somebody came over to sort of, I guess, condole him or something like that. Console him. But he was I think he was a bit sort of like the fans. I mean, the match was exciting. But ultimately we were left disappointed. We were happy that United played attacking football, and we were happy that we went for it, and we were happy that Ruben did make changes and sort of sacrificed his system that people call rigid, and to play this attacking football. But ultimately we were left disappointed because we didn't get the 3 points, and it was sort of another dropping of 2 points. Lucky says there will be no player power. As ownership, I'm with the manager, want reduced wage bills further, getting Premier League midfielders. Lyle says even after his bombshell interview, Bruno still showed up this season. Can't fault him, and that's another good point. I mean, listen, this thing has been bothering him for quite a while. Because for you to do an interview about this in November, I clearly the whole time it's been an issue for him, and clearly it's been in the back of his head, and clearly I guess he felt like it's something that he sort of needed to express and get out. I don't necessarily like the timing of it, but I guess if it means that maybe it helps him get his head a bit more straight. Hopefully sort of this doesn't cause more problems than it does to sort of help, because I mean these are big statements he's made. He is the captain of Manchester United, and the other players and people are gonna take this into account and sort of look into this. So I don't know, maybe it clears his head, and maybe we get a better, clear-minded Bruno going forward. Maybe it causes other issues. We don't know how it's really going to go, but at the nonetheless, I mean, even with this sort of, the pain that he describes, the hurt, even, a sense of a backstab is kind of what he's sort of alluding to there. We haven't seen him down tools. We haven't seen him, not try. He shows up, and he's been showing up, and he's been trying to show up as best as he can. Sometimes he doesn't have good games. Every footballer goes through this. But, at the very least, what I could say when I compare it to some other players, he's not walking around on the pitch. He's still giving 100%. And, and he's clearly been bothered by this. And, sort of to like what he said, he could have down tools. He could have down tools right now. He could have just been like, fuck this, He could have sat there and been like, I regret this. I regret this decision. I shouldn't have stayed. I should have left. Let me down tools and maybe I'll try and push a move in January. Fuck it. And I don't think he's done this. So, Elias says, load off his shoulders. Besides, Kobbie's douche brother has now taken over the headlines. Well, I'm going to get into his douche brother, half brother. Apparently, it's his half brother. We're going to get into that. He is what I'm going to start coining on the show. He is the jackass of the day, and we'll get into that. But I just sort of want to get through this Bruno stuff first. Then we'll go into Kobbie. And we do have some transfer stuff as well. I mean, it's been a huge day for Manchester United today. I mean, it's like Drama FC. It always seems to be a day after a match as well. And, because yesterday was such like a just chaos match, back and forth, exciting match. The news has exploded today. It's all over you got Bruno, you got Kobbie's brother, you got transfer news, you got updates from Fabrizio. It's insane. It's insane. So we're going to try to get everything. Drama FC never dies. No, I mean, you never have really a boring or quiet day. As a Manchester United fan, do you? And if you happen to do, you always sit there and you're like, something's not right. It's too quiet. It makes you feel uneasy. You're like, something's coming up. Something's going on. It's way too quiet for Manchester United. So, let me just sort of Lucky says no more player power, sell you January transfer. Well, I have a thing on player power, and I'll get to that. Let me get through this Bruno thing. Let me hit the club stance because I didn't finish it out. So, again, the last thing I said was they stressed the interview was recorded weeks ago, not yesterday. Now, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think that makes much of a difference because weeks ago, it's still the middle of the season. But they're trying to clarify it's not because of that clip where he was seen upset. He didn't say these after the match yesterday. This was done previously. So obviously it wasn't because of yesterday. It was because these things happened. This thing happened in the summer. It's been bothering them ever since. So the club's version is basically, yes, Saudi were there with big money. They said, yes, we discussed it with him, but we never had a formal bid on the table that we accepted. We wanted him to stay, and Amorim sees him as the key. So there's a bit of spin on both sides here, I guess. From Bruno's angle, he feels like the door was open for him to go, like they'd have been fine cashing in if he'd push for it, which I don't necessarily have a problem myself, but, it's his life. It's his career, and maybe he wanted the club to fight for him a little bit more, so he would feel a little bit more, sort of like welcome, loved, whatever. From the club's angle, they're saying he's not for sale. They're reminding everyone he signed a contract to 2027 with an option, and that he's still a part of the long-term project under Ineos and Amorim. So here's the question for you lot. I guess, who do you believe more in this situation, Bruno or the club, or who are you siding more with? Because, it is sort of split in a certain sense, and Bruno, type Bruno if you think he's just telling the truth about how it felt, and the club if you think this is being blown up and they genuinely want to keep him. Because I'm going to be honest, I do sort of lean into Bruno's camp a little bit in that I do think that the club was sort of open to a certain sense. I think they were just doing their job, but I think they were open in a certain sense. Like, I think if Bruno came to them and was like, listen, I'm thinking about leaving, I've been here for a while, it would be a good change. I think it is the responsibility and the utmost, it's the ownership right to be like, okay, we can't have a player that's not fully committed to the football club. If your head's not here, if you're not here, if it's not 100% committed, you can't be here. As great as you might be, as much as we might actually want you to stay, maybe we could talk about it, try and convince you. But if you can't come to that determination yourself, then ultimately you can't be here. You don't want to keep a player that's not 100% fully vested into the football club. It's like the oldest adage of football. You don't want to keep players at the club that don't want to be here. But Bruno's made it clear that, like, you know, he didn't really want to leave. He didn't really entertain the offer, and he had multiple reasons. I mean, Ruben was one, his family was one, and he genuinely loves this football club. So, you know, I think the club sort of hitting I think the club are trying to spin a little bit of PR in that, you know, they're saying he's not for sale now. And yeah, I don't think he was really ever for sale. Like, we didn't put him for sale. We weren't looking for him to sell, but that's not what Bruno's saying, is it? Bruno didn't say they put me for sale. Bruno said that they were thinking about it, that they were thinking about selling me, and I didn't really like that because I don't feel so wanted. You know, if you really wanted me, you would have just rejected all of it. You would have just said he's absolutely not for sale. So, you know, drop that in the chat. I'm going to read a few good comments, and then we'll talk about why this is, you know, such a big deal football-wise. Because whatever you think of the drama, Bruno is still ridiculously important to the club as it stands. Lyle's saying Bruno, and he's siding with Bruno. I'm siding with Bruno a little bit too. I don't listen. I like Omar, even though I don't know too much about Omar. I like Jason Wilcox. I don't trust Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I don't trust Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I can't trust Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I can't. I didn't trust him from the moment he said 2 lines. Okay, and I try to give him the benefit of the doubt, and ultimately his actions. And their actions, you know, actions are louder than words. Their actions will speak for everything, and the truth will ultimately come out at some point. But I never believed Sir Jim from 2 standpoints. When he said he was going to bring the Manchester back in Manchester, because nobody knows what the fuck that actually means, and nobody still knows what that actually means. And a lot of people at the time, when he said, yeah, let's put the Manchester back in Manchester, and backed him, well, they're now like, that's bullshit. That. And also when he said he was a lifelong fan of the club. And I was like, you're a billionaire. You might be one of those guys that says, yeah, I've been a fan of United since I was 3. Yeah, but how much do you actually know? You know. It sounds like saving face from the club's perspective, but honestly, it's an easy fix, really. Yeah, I mean, I think the club is... Yeah, I think they're trying to save a little bit of face here. I also think that they don't. I mean, I don't think the club. Listen, I don't know if this is like. I don't know if they allowed him to put this out. I would assume that like he's contracted to us when he does interviews. I don't know how it works internationally. I don't know if he needs permission from the football club to do this, because it's not something that's come out through United, but he's still contracted to us. So I would assume that United might or should have some sort of control. But I don't know if it works like that. Maybe they don't. But it kind of seems like that they don't really. I don't think they want this for a couple reasons. One, it's just a sort of a bad look. But 2, if you are even going to consider selling Bruno at some point, you don't want the story of, or the perception of, there is unrest, or there is a willingness that we are looking to sell him. Because from the club standpoint, the strongest position you could have is, we love Bruno Fernandes and we don't want to sell him. And if you try to buy him, the only way we're going to give him to you is if you give us some sort of ridiculous money. Now, when he does this interview and sort of peers into that the club were sort of interested, we're sort of looking at it, it makes the position slightly weaker as well, in my opinion. So, Lucky says Bruno Fernandes out. I mean, why? Bruno Fernandes out for what, though? Like, I'm not mad at him for saying these things. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think, listen, if it's a financial thing or whatever, like I've always said, cash in and rebuild, I think that's logical. But for something like this, I mean, I'm not, I don't think he said anything that's bad in a necessary sense. I don't necessarily like the timing of it. But I guess we'll see sort of how that goes. If it causes bigger problems, then it wasn't really a good thing to happen. But maybe it's good for him. Maybe it's sort of like it lifts the weight off his shoulders, and hopefully it doesn't disrupt the team. Listen, this is our club, this team, sport, defense, and attack. I'm listening, but all right, hold on. So let me get to this section and this part. So let's talk about how good, sort of Bruno is actually is for this team, because that's the context. Everyone forgets when the transfer noise starts. In the Bournemouth 4-4 madness the other night, he got himself a goal and assists again, and that took him to around 103 goals and 93 assists in 307 games for Manchester United. That's over 190 goal contributions in just over 300 appearances, which is an insane output for a midfielder. So, whether you think he moans too much, whether you think his body language, you like his body language or not, he's the one constantly that has been creating chances at this football club. He takes a lot of the set pieces. He plays almost every single game, so reliability in terms of, he's not really ever injured. And I would like to say and consider that he's more consistent than inconsistent. And, he's dragged us through a lot of these sort of chaotic results. And, from a pure football point of view, if you sell that level of creativity and leadership, you need serious replacements lined up. I think we do have that in terms of, are you going to replace him like for like? No. But in terms of what the squad needs, we do need two major midfielders, where he's playing and where Casemiro is playing. We need guys that solidly fit those positions. And we need that. We also need somebody that, at the very least, we could sort of rely on. Somebody that we can, that's somebody that's going to be fit and available a lot of times. That's sort of hard to replace. I mean, look at Matthijs de Ligt. I love Matthijs de Ligt. I think he's excellent, but he sort of has this little bit of issue that, he gets a slight injury. You expect him to be out for a game, and all of a sudden he's out for 4 games. Or 5 games, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. I can't lie, because I think de Ligt is very good, and we need de Ligt playing every match, and we need de Ligt. If de Ligt could do what Bruno does, and he's available for every match, I think we're in such a great position, or we're in a way better position. But since de Ligt has been here, he is available. I would say maybe 75% of the time, but he does have this issue, and it's not to the level of Bruno. I don't think he's ever missed a game through injury. Maybe one. If he ever missed it, it was mainly because of a suspension, because of bookings or a red card or something like that. So, from a pure football, well, like you're saying, you're sick of player FC crap. Well, I mean, this isn't really player FC crap, though, is it? I mean, he hasn't gone against the manager or anything like that. But there is player FC crap, and we will get into the player FC crap. So, where was I? If you keep him, you need a structure and a midfield around him that actually maximizes what he does, instead of asking him to fix everything, which we've been doing for quite a long time. I mean, we've been asking him to sort of and rely on and sort of lean on him to fix everything. My father famously says to me all the time that, when Bruno has a shit game, we're shit. He sort of puts it on Bruno, but I don't really understand how it's ever on Bruno. It's not really his fault. It's all the club, really, and the other players around him. If he has a shit game, we have the rest of the team is shit. I mean, well, it's sort of the problem in the fact that he is the one that is creating everything and he does everything, and that we don't have players that can, do that to his level. So, and also, yeah, like yesterday, I don't want to see him playing in that midfield anymore. I don't. He quite clearly is good as a 10, an attacking midfielder, whatever it is, just up the pitch in the attacking half. That's where he belongs. That's where he does his best work. That's where he's the most impactful. That's where I want to see him play. I don't want to see him in this role. I don't like him in this role. I think it leaves him open to not being able to give us his best in matches, because he can only kind of really do one half of that, which is the attacking sense. The defensive sense is not really his. It's never his strong suit. It's not going to be his strong suit. He's 30. And he can only bring it to a certain level. You know, he's not going to turn into some tackling machine. You know, he lacks in that. He could try his best. He can make an effort, but it's at the level we need it to go to. It's not going to be good enough. You know, it's not going to be good enough. So, you know, I would ask, like, to a certain sense, on a sort of on a scale of 1 to 10. I mean, how important, you know, is Bruno to United right now? I still think he's probably like a 7 or an 8 in that sense. You know, I would say in terms of what we have for the team, because I mean, solely if you take Bruno out of this team with no replacements, I think we clearly drop like a good 2-3 levels for sure. But I mean, if you take him out and maybe you say you get Warden and Baleba or something like that, I mean, maybe the squad feels a lot more balanced, and it feels, you know, like we'll be able to like continue going on forward without him. But Elias has agreed that De Ligt is key to our defense, or at least stabilizes it to a certain extent. I feel De Ligt last night saves us on a couple of those Bournemouth goals. Yeah, at least one of them. I mean, even the fact of, listen, I think even if you had Heaven on one side, Euro on one side, and you have De Ligt in the center, I think if you had De Ligt in the center of both of them, I think makes a difference. That one goal where it was Euro was caught out in no man's land, and Heaven wasn't, you know, properly positioned. He wasn't goal side, and he didn't track the run properly, and he was late to the run, and they both got split, and they were both at fault for that. I think even that goal, I think if you have Heaven on one side and you have De Ligt in the center of them, which is where Heaven was, I think maybe even that goal doesn't happen, because I think with the experience of De Ligt, I think he would have tracked and read that run, and I think he would have gotten that, and I think also he would have been able to sort of command that back line back there and sort of guide Lenny a little bit and Heaven a little bit, and maybe they would have felt more comfortable back there as well. So Bruno is so damn important. Even playing deeper, he has more assists and chance creation. He is. I mean, listen, he is very important to this team as it stands right now. He is a massive part of creating a lot of chances for us, and goals, assists, and you know, there's some moron out there screaming stat pad, stat pad. I don't give a shit about stat pad, dude. The ball going into the net, if you're helping it, you know, it's always the simplest term. There's no reason to ever overcomplicate things. If you're helping the ball go into the net, great. I don't care. I don't need anything else. If you're putting the ball in the back of the net, great. I don't care. I don't really need anything else, because those are the things that are having the major impacts in matches. The ball going into the net. So if you're creating chances for that to happen, or you're scoring them yourselves, you're having a big impact on the game. You know. And second GA only to Haaland. And Haaland's GA is literally just G's. It's all just goals mostly. I mean, he might have a couple assists, but I mean, all of his thing is, you know, it's pretty much cherry picking goals, you know, served up on a platter to him. So yeah, I mean, and there's a couple of scenarios, I guess, for the summer. You could sort of look at it like this in a certain sense, in that, you know, Al Hilal were ready with a huge offer around 100 million, crazy wages. I don't think we'll be able to get that now, because it's 1 year later down the line, so it's 1 year off of his contract, and I feel like it's got to be less than that. Bruno did say that he spoke to people like Ronaldo and Ruben Neves about life out there. They were sort of, you know, I guess trying to convince him to come out there. And he's admitted he's not ruling Saudi out one day. And even if he says it would be for the money, he says it wouldn't be for the money, but it'd be for the lifestyle and growing the league. At the same time, United are reiterating that they don't want to sell him, and he's essential to their long-term plan. So there's sort of a path A, I guess, and maybe a path B. Path A being obviously that Bruno stays at this football club. You know, club backs Amorim and keeps Bruno as the main man in the midfield. You bring in 1 or 2 quality midfielders around him to take the load off. You manage his minutes, you manage his minutes better, but keep his creativity and leadership. Pros, you keep your captain. your main creator, the guy who clearly loves the club. No need to gamble on sort of maybe like an ex Bruno, or trying to actually replace him, which I don't think you can, because I don't think there's many players. There's not really a player out there like Bruno. Bruno's kind of his own player, so I don't. You'll never be able to directly replace certain qualities that he has. You could either get somebody that is better in their own way or just not as good in their own way. He's what is he, 30, 31 now? I mean, if you're going to cash in, this is probably the last time you get sort of high money for him at this age, and with the contract sort of running down, we do have an option to extend it. It goes to 2027. We could take it to 2028. But, with the age going up, like he sort of alluded to, this is probably the last opportunity. I think if United don't sell him in this upcoming summer, obviously it's got to be for a good price. But then I think, the money you're looking at afterwards, it ain't going to be anywhere near, what we were sort of looking at in the summer that just passed by. And then like path B is, Rooney leaves Saudi club, but maybe some big European side come back in with a big offer. United decide to accept, use the cash for a big rebuild in the midfield. Pros, you suddenly have a lot more money to reshape the squad. You can bring in younger legs, more physical profiles, rebuild the whole structure. Cons obviously is sort of goes to the pros. You lose your captain, you lose your main creator, you lose the guy that we've sort of relied on for a while. Many people think that that's sort of the problem, but a guy who clearly feels emotionally invested, he cares about the football club. He's actually criticized some of his teammates for not being the same way, and that he feels like some of them don't care as much as he does. And you're relying on the recruitment of this football club, which has not always been elite, to actually nail sort of his replacement or to redistribute, take those funds, redistribute it into the squad. I will be fair though, Ineos have done, I think, so far, from what we can see, decently good job in terms of players coming in. They're not going to get everybody right, but I think they've gotten some have been good. Some obviously, are brand new so far this season. We got to see how it's going. I think Mbeumo's good. I think Cunha, we need a little bit more, and Sesko is sort of a wait and see. There's a lot of hope for him, but we got to see how his development comes. And Dorgu has question marks over him. Ugarte, I think his future is done at this football. I don't think he has a future at this football club. I think he was not the correct buy. He wasn't a good buy. So yeah, I mean, for the chat, if you were the sporting director, if you were Jason Wilcox, or you were in Jason Wilcox's position, well, he's director of football, right? Whatever, same difference. If a huge offer comes in for Bruno this summer, what do? You're going to keep him? You're going to sell him? Or does it depend on what he wants? If he says he wants to stay, then you'll keep him. If he says he wants to go, you sell him. I do think that Bruno, I get that he feels hurt. I think he has a right to feel hurt from his perspective. He is a player. We're different. We're fans. We sort of look at it from both aspects, and we're also sort of looking out for the club. And he's his own guy, so he's gonna feel hurt. Especially if you felt like the club were kind of shrugging their shoulders about him leaving. I mean, I don't know what the discussions were. I don't know what they said to him. I think this is sort of a way to sort of play it a little bit as well. So I don't really know how they necessarily went about it, but I get it from his perspective. You're the captain. You play every game. You give everything. You hear that people upstairs might be okay with cashing in on you. I think as a human being, of course, that's probably going to sting. I think it's only normal. So, I mean, for me, emotionally, I kind of feel for Bruno. The guy has carried this team for years, and he deserves honesty and respect from people. at this football club. Strategically, financially, I still think the best move, is that we probably, if we get a big enough offer, we sell him in the summer. Because I think that the manager and I think the football club needs as much money as possible. And we need to spend as much money as possible. And we need to get in as many different new players as possible to make the squad stronger, make it more balanced, make it more competitive. And unfortunately, because of our situation, and it highly depends on what we do this season. If we get into Europe, we'll have more money. You get more money for Champions League than Europa League, but either way, you get more money than not being in Europe. But with what the Glazers have done, with sort of our position of where we've been, we do need to continue to spend as much money as possible. We just need to spend it correctly. So, I mean, there are the players that obviously have to leave this football club, then they can't be excused either. But I think, if somebody comes in with 80 million, 100 million again, I think that's sort of the last opportunity that you get at this. And I still feel like that money and where we're at, I mean, how much more is he going to be able to go after this for us? Another 2 years? Is it worth it passing up that 100 million, 80 million? When, in theory, we could do good with that. We could do a lot of good to the squad for it. So, I don't know. I mean, I was a bit surprised by this sort of coming out. I didn't really expect this today. It was really a bombshell that was dropped. But I mean, if you want to get any final thoughts or comments in there, just drop them in there. Now, I am going to move on to our jackass of the day. Then here he is. Okay? So, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna try and get this story as straight as possible here. But this is what is a picture of apparently Kobbie Mainoo's half brother. His name is Jordan, I believe, and he was on Love Island, and apparently he is a massive prat and a dickhead. Yeah, like listen, I don't watch Love Island, so I don't know, but this is what I've seen people been saying, that he's one of these, egotistical people that, he went on Love Island, he thinks he's the shit. He's sort of an ignorant type of guy. And he wore this yesterday at the match versus Bournemouth, then took a picture of it and put it on Instagram. And this blew up all over social media. And here's the problem. Like, some people were angry because they were like, you're a dumbass because you're not helping your brother. And look what you just did to him. That's not, it's not a good thing to do. It's selfish, which I agree with. I think it's extremely selfish. And I think it could play a hand in that it doesn't really help Kobbie Mainoo's situation. I will say that, I don't like when the family members of these people are doing it. Now, this is sort of the first instance that this has happened, so I will sort of let it slide for Kobbie right now, because I didn't really go at Garnacho's brother when he first did it the first couple times, but he kept on doing it, and then after that point, I mean, you just, you're letting your brother do whatever you want because you want him to do it, because it's a mouthpiece for you without you saying something, because you can argue, oh, well, I mean, he's his own person and he's saying it. I'm not saying it. He's doing it. He's his own person. And I think that's what it turned into with Garnacho. Now, this guy here, I've seen people say that, he's not. He's from some other like type of marriage in his family. He's only his half brother, and if you look at sort of the pictures that Kobbie's taken when he's done the signing of his professional contract at United, this guy, his half brother is nowhere to be to be found. So it seems like Kobbie doesn't necessarily keep him that close to him. You know, he doesn't maybe rate him as much. Kobbie has 2 sisters, a mother, and they're you know, he has them around constantly, and you know, they've been quiet. They haven't come out and said anything. And I've seen some people sort of, you know, try to hit Kobbie on this a little bit because of the Garnacho thing, and I've seen people say, like, you know, you're not keeping the same energy because when it was Garnacho. Number one, I've been saying this for a while. I don't think you can compare Garnacho to Kobbie Mainoo. I think Kobbie Mainoo has been quite professional about it, the whole thing that's been going on. I mean, Garnacho was liking and posting, you know, comments on Instagram, shade and all this bullshit. And, you know, it started getting more and more. He even did a couple of interviews and stuff like that. It really got out of hand. I don't think Kobbie is like that at all. He hasn't really shown that. He hasn't really done that. So, and, you know, as far as in terms of like, I think even from the manager's perspective, like, even though Ruben's not starting him, even though Ruben's not necessarily, you know, maybe giving him as much minutes as people think he deserves, he's never dropped Kobbie Mainoo out of the team. I think the fact that Ruben dropped Garnacho almost immediately, remember, I mean, we were doing a Manchester derby, and he dropped Garnacho and Rashford immediately and dropped him straight out of the team. Not dropped him out of the starting lineup, dropped him out of the squad completely. So, I mean, that's never happened to Kobbie. So that leads me to believe that he doesn't have to be happy, but he ain't causing problems and he ain't downing tools. And there's also been that a couple people were saying that this T-shirt, now I haven't seen this myself, but they were saying that they saw this T-shirt being promoted online to be bought, and that people were selling them, and that somebody has a theory that he might have been paid to wear this, take a picture of it and put it on Instagram, you know, as sort of promotion for the T-shirt, because somebody is trying to capitalize on this whole Kobbie thing. And I mean, just a couple days ago on Twitter, I mean, a lot of people were saying the word free Kobbie Mainoo or free Kobbie. And yeah, so listen, ultimately his half-brother, his brother, whatever he is, he's a jackass. I think it's a bit unfair at this moment in time to sort of go all in on Kobbie about this. I don't think Kobbie, I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna give Kobbie the benefit of the doubt. I don't think Kobbie knew anything about this. I don't think Kobbie knew anything about this. I don't think Kobbie was like, I don't think Kobbie had a discussion with him and was like, yeah, totally go wear a shirt that says free Kobbie Mainoo and then put it on Instagram. Because I would like to believe that they're smarter than that. So yeah, I mean, listen, you know, if I'm Kobbie, I'm calling him up, or I'm sending him a message and I'm telling him, you stupid fuck, don't do that again, because he's not. Listen, I think it's totally selfish. I don't know the relationship, but it just seems like it was really more about him than it actually was for Kobbie. I mean, the way he posted about it, the way he like put it up. So, you know, I mean, a lot of people have said that, you know, they love Kobbie Mainoo. This move from his brother is absolutely embarrassing. Garnacho's brother did something similar. Now Mainoo's brother too. It is his half brother though, apparently. So you know, that might make a difference. Might not. A lot of people strong sort of circumstance. I mean, for me, the biggest thing about this, the biggest issue I have, and this is more of a general thing that I will say here, you know, and it's not directly towards sort of Kobbie in specific, but just in general, because I mean, even before this match yesterday and before this all happened, we did have a thing where apparently, because Ruben said the things he said about Harry Amos and Cheeto and Toby Collier, well, Cheeto and Harry Amos decided that they were going to go and put a post each on their Instagram story and then delete it. And Harry Amos put a picture of him holding Player of the Month award for Sheffield Wednesday. with a smiley face, and that's all he said. And then Cheeto put up some picture of him celebrating a goal for, I guess, the under-21s. And they then took these down like almost immediately. So they were up for like a couple minutes or something like that, and then they took them off. And this is sort of my problem, you know, with the bigger thing. I mean, let's just run it down. First, it was Rashford's brother. Then it was Garnacho's. Now it's Kobbie's. You know, you look at the bigger picture. Rashford's brother doesn't say shit when he gets benched at Barcelona now, does he? Garnacho's brother isn't saying shit when he gets benched at Chelsea. And I guarantee you, Mainoo's brother, you know, probably wouldn't do this unless it was for self-promotion and he's selfish. But it's still, he probably wouldn't be doing this at another football club. And to be honest, it's you know, it seems like they only really do this shit at United because the environment is still rotten. The culture where players and their families, they feel entitled. They feel powered to be able to do this. And part of the reason is the fans. The fan base is a large part of this reason. You know, the fans want to go into the culture at this club is not good enough. The environment isn't good enough. I'm sorry, but a large section of the fan base contribute to this. And you know how you contribute to this? Because when you go on social media and you go Player FC and you take the player's side and you diss the manager and you diss the ownership, well, guess what? When these people go on social media, they see a lot of people and they say, I have the support of the people. And when people feel like they have the support of the people, they tend to act out. They tend to do things that they shouldn't necessarily be doing because they go, you know what? People have my back. Fuck the upper management. Fuck the manager. Okay? I'm going to do whatever I want and people are going to back me and they're not going to have the support. So part of the reason why the culture is not the best at Manchester United, obviously the Glazers and what they've done, but the fan base, where they do tend to do Player FC, you are empowering these people. You are empowering these players to do things or people in their family because you are causing a shitstorm online and they see this. And they feel like the overwhelming majority of people are giving them the license to go out and do shit like this, which ultimately then causes bigger problems at the football club and embarrasses our football club. And this is why I have a problem with this. This is why I have a problem with this, because I don't do Player FC. I believe in a hierarchy and I believe in an order. You know, I for those of you that have been here for a while, you know I like Harry Almas. You know I think he can be a good player. You know I like Kobbie Mainoo. You know how I feel about him. I do truly believe he could be a top 5 midfielder in the world. I do. Okay? And I liked Garnacho. But I've always been straight clear with this, and I will never deviate from this. There is, number one, there is a rule and order here, okay? There's the people that run this football club, there's the manager, and then there are the players, okay? And it's in that order. And anytime a player decides or thinks that he can be bigger than the manager, then you can please stand up and get the fuck out of my football club. I don't want you here. I don't care what your name is. I don't care what you've done. I don't care, you know, how good you are or what kind of impact you've had. The second you cross the line, you have to go, because you cannot allow this to happen. This is how you breed a shitty ass culture. Because if you let one guy do it, other people will get ideas. You need to put your foot down. And unfortunately, you want to rewind all the way back to Jose Mourinho. This is where it started. This is where it grew, and it spread like a cancer. And we've been dealing with this fucking problem ever since. Even probably, if you really want to make the argument, it could have went under Moyes, and it could have went under LVG with, you know, the players that we had are legends, like Rooney and all of them that were there, that had a difficult time trying to adjust to some other manager when they're looking at it and they're like, yeah, you're not even close to Ferguson. You know, what is this bullshit? You know, but we know what happened under Mourinho. We know what happened with Jose. So, I mean, Yazid Z says, I'm running out of patience with Amorim. I'm calling for his head. Well, listen, I mean, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. For me, as long as he's still got a shot to, I guess, you know, to turn it around, then I'm willing to give it a license. If it falls apart, it falls apart. I mean, he'll lose his job. So, but Lyle says, honestly, I think Kobbie must be pissed. Sounds much like a bad PR stunt. I mean, fuck. We are not even in a transfer window to Kobbie or like offers are actively being blocked. Well, I think part of the free Kobbie is like, I think it has a couple meanings. I think free Kobbie is like let him go, or free Kobbie in terms of like fucking play him. I think that's what they're trying to allude to. Like, I think they're trying to say like Kobbie is being locked down. He's being held in a prison cell. He's not allowed to be free. He's not allowed to get on the pitch. He's not allowed to get minutes. He's not allowed to grow. I think it sort of has two meanings. You know what I mean? But it does, listen, from what people have said about this guy, and I'm not a Love Island person. This guy has his own Instagram and his own following. He seems a bit of a, just a jackass in general. He seems like one of those, big-headed, not really talented, but thinks they're the shit type of people in the world, and that everybody should be licking the bottom of their shoe. I mean, it probably seems a lot more like he went out there to use the situation because it's a huge talking point. He's obviously related to Kobbie in some way. He used it for publicity. He used it for interaction. He used it for, people to get on his Instagram, to know his name more, to get popular. And listen, I don't like it, and he's, in my opinion, he's a jackass for it, and he's an asshole. But I mean, it's a bit smart, yeah, because I mean, he's got technically he's gotten what he wanted, right? I mean, I didn't even know he existed, right? Like for somebody like me who doesn't watch Love Island and is not, I didn't even know this guy existed before yesterday. I actually saw the picture. And I didn't really read because I was scrolling through X the other day after the match, and I saw the picture, and I didn't even stop to really look at it because I just thought it was some random jackass wearing a shirt, and that like somebody put up and was like, oh, some guy, some random guy has like a free Kobbie Mainoo shirt or something like that. It was only till later where I saw more posts about it, and they were like, no, that's actually Kobbie's half brother, and they said all these things about it, and I'm like. That's all I could do. I was just like, dude, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, he just came on for 30 minutes. He played very well. Everybody was happy about the performance that he put in. Everybody was happy that he got technically more minutes. He's come on. We were praising him. And then this jerk off had to go do this. And then the conversation turned into fucking this whole thing. And I'm like, if I'm Kobbie, I'm like, dude, you're not helping me. And you know what? I don't even think Kobbie's happy about it because I think Kobbie, I don't know them at all, so I could be totally wrong. But I just kind of feel like the fact that I don't know that I didn't know that he was Kobbie's brother, the fact that I haven't actually seen him in pictures with Kobbie, I don't think Kobbie really rates him. You know what I mean? I think Kobbie is maybe sort of friendly with him because it's sort of a forced family thing in a certain way, and maybe he hasn't like done anything bad to Kobbie, but he quite clearly doesn't care. I think about this guy that he does like his sisters or his mother. I think that's quite obvious. So, listen, some of you guys in here need to change your. There's too many of you green guys in here. Lucky's got a green profile picture with a letter. Yazid's got a green profile picture in here with a letter. Niche Fan's got a green picture with a profile. Get a different color. I don't know what you got to do, but I'm all thinking you guys are the same guys. The fuck is up with the brothers? Well, it's family members, and sort of what I was hitting on to is that they only do this shit at United. It seems like. And part of the culture problems is I think the fan base plays into this. I think this is why, like, again, I say I like Kobbie Mainoo, but I've never said sack Ruben Amorim because he's not starting Kobbie Mainoo. I think that's fucking ridiculous. I do. And I'm not going to take a player's side over the manager's side. The manager could be wrong about it. We might lose a player. But boo-hoo, shit happens. I've lost many players at this football club. I've watched David Beckham go. Roy Keane has left this football club. Van Nistelrooy has left this football club. You know, I've seen legends, people that are fucking amazing, leave this football club. It sucks, but it happens, and we move on, and you move forward, okay? And I think the situation has, again, considering where he's at his age, I think it's blown out of proportion. I tend to agree with Ruben in the fact of that things can change. You might not be the starter right now. Doesn't mean in a year's time you're not the fucking guy. So I do think for a guy his age, that's always the possibility. And if you don't think that's possible, then I would probably question that you don't really rate Kobbie Mainoo, do you then? Because I rate him. I rate him to come out of this. I rate him to get past this. I rate him to grow. I think he's that good enough. I think he will come out of this situation, and I think he will be fine. So long as he chooses he doesn't want to leave. If he stays here, I think with his talent, undoubtedly, he will break through. And he will get through. And he will be a main guy. I do. Because that's how much I rate him. And if you don't think that, then I would question how much do you actually rate him. Because clearly you don't rate him enough to think that, you know, he can make it through here. Niche fan says Bruno, and also says liked. Thank you. Elias says, and of course, the fan base, we are blowing up egos and hiding behind keyboards on social media. Well, it's sort of the problem. Lucky says, I'm with manager. All players will leave. I don't care about them. Bum players. And Bruno Fernandes, Ugarte, bum. I'm looking winners, fighters. Well, again, I don't really know. What? I don't know why you're so mad at Bruno. Is Bruno not allowed to say what he said? I don't think Bruno said anything wrong. You know, I'm looking, you know, what Bruno said, you know, it's not like Bruno didn't do what Jadon Sancho did. I have a problem with what Jadon Sancho did, yeah? And the way he went about it. And I've had problems with players like Marcus Rashford or something like that, where they're clearly, quite evidently walking on the pitch, walking in games, and I'm watching them walk. And that I can't have. I don't see that from Bruno, so I don't know why you're so mad at Bruno in terms of you calling him a bum. I don't think Bruno's a bum. And you know, I wouldn't even say Ugarte's a bum. I just don't think Ugarte was good. Was a good enough buy. But listen, I mean, this is what happens when you side with players over managers, and you refuse to let managers build a proper culture, a culture where players understand their place. You know, and even for those younger guys, you know, I was absolutely furious. You know, I did the build-up yesterday to the match, and I went on a fucking rant that I didn't even mean to get to, but it, you know, it just boils my skin. I mean, for Harry Almas and for Cheeto, might be rough to say it, and maybe it's wrong, but I don't think it's wrong, so I don't really care. I mean, I said, who the fuck do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are as kids that have done nothing yet? You have accomplished fuck all, okay? And this is where it boils my blood. You have accomplished nothing. Who do you think you are to respond to whatever the manager has said in a public setting by putting up fucking pictures on Instagram, being petty and throwing shade? Who are you? You've done fucking nothing yet, okay? As much as I might like you and might think you have potential, you've done nothing. You don't have any credit in the bank. You don't have any money in the bank. And whether I like Ruben or not, I don't give a shit. It's not about me liking the manager. It's about the proper process and the order of a football club. And no player is ever allowed to go above the manager. And if you do that, we have the problems that we have at this football club. So I will never, ever, I don't give a shit who it is. I didn't like when Cristiano Ronaldo did his interview with Piers Morgan and he fucking said the things about Ten Hag. And I love Ronaldo, and I wasn't happy necessarily that Ten Hag wasn't playing Ronaldo. I didn't necessarily like, per se, the treatment of it. But I was certainly not happy that Ronaldo can, and Ronaldo's Ronaldo. Ronaldo, if anybody's going to do it, it's Ronaldo, and it's going to be Messi. They got the biggest pull and the most credit in the bank. And I still didn't like it. I was like, listen, for me, I felt like it was a bit distasteful in that certain sense, you might have a personal grievance with him, but I was like, Ronaldo was clearly trying to use his power and his fame and his, how clearly more people love Ronaldo than they love Ten Hag for reasons to diminish Eric Ten Hag and throw him under the bus and have people hate him. And I didn't like that. I don't like that, because I said, Ronaldo, listen, you might have a personal disagreement with him. You might not like him. You might hate him. But if you care about the football club, you don't do that to the current manager of Manchester United. By all means, have a go at the Glazers. Say that the training facilities are shit and, things aren't updated and the culture is fucked up and all that. Fine. Go ahead. Call it out. But I didn't like that bit with the manager because I just don't, I just don't like that shit. I don't think it's the proper thing to do. And it's been proven quite right. I mean, even Sir Alex Ferguson at one point said the day, I saw it somewhere where he said the day that the players have more power than the managers, the day the football club dies. Well, you know what? Coincidentally enough, when that man that made that quote left our football club, many people say our club has been dead for that amount of time or died 12 years ago. So I don't think it's any coincidence that those things are going hand in hand, because he left, and what happened then? The introduction of massive player power, commercialism, inflating the fucking egos, and social media blew up. And we seem to have a big problem with it. We seem to have a big problem at this football club with it, because like I pointed out, where is Garnacho's brother? Where, this is my question. Where is Garnacho's brother right now? Where is he? Because he's not starting for Chelsea. He's on the bench. Where is he? Where is he? Where is the social media posts? Where is the shit that he was doing at United? Where is it? Where is it? He's not doing it there. Why? Because if he does it, they're going to be so reprimanded, and they'll kick Garnacho the fuck out of there faster than he can spell his own name. Because Chelsea don't give a fuck, and they don't need him. They'll replace him in 2 seconds. This is why Ineos are backing Amorim. And, I think they did it with Rashford. I've always said that. I think the Rashford thing is not just an Amorim thing. I think Amorim came in. I think he called it out immediately. And I think the rest of them were sort of questioning it / viewing it under what was going on under Ten Hag and maybe past stuff. And I think they were like, well, I mean, this guy just came here and he fucking called it out already. So, and he said what we've sort of been kind of looking at for a while. So go. Go. I think it was a huge part. They clearly are backing him on these things. And, I think any player that actually thinks that they are bigger than him and then that they are bigger than the club, no matter how talented they are, I think they'll be kicked out of this football club. And I think they should. So, I don't think Kobbie per se thinks that in a certain sense. I don't think Kobbie's acting like that, because he's not. In my opinion, he's not. There's ways that would indicate this. I think, one, there would be a huge rift. He'd be dropped out of the squad. He hasn't been dropped out of the squad. He's not really a social media guy, and everything else that's going on is literally made by everybody else. It's out of his hands. The fans want to make this a big deal. There's not much that he could really do about it. His brother wants to be a jackass in this sort of sense, his half brother or whatever, sort of the first instance of a family member doing this type of thing. I mean, what did he know about it? I think we got to give him the benefit of the doubt on that. So, yeah, Saeed rants, Money TV gets paid clown most times. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not really gonna get into that, but I don't really like Saeed's shit. I think he's I don't like his content. I don't like his content at all. I don't like his opinions. I think he's just honestly, I think he's an embarrassing jackass to the fan base. I do, and yeah, I don't like his content at all. Don't like it at all. Not a fan. Haven't been a fan for him forever. From when he was on the United Stand, didn't like him. I thought he was through his shit. I don't need to watch his content. He's one of those guys that, I mean, I don't watch his content, but he's one of those guys that I could tell you exactly what he's saying without watching it, because it's always the same, and it's the same script, it's the same bullshit. So, I from time to time a clip of his pops up on my Twitter timeline because somebody else posted, and I'm just like, you're a jackass, and I'd debate the shit out of him, and I'd destroy him in 2 seconds. I would destroy him in a debate in 2 seconds, because he'd be screaming, foaming out the mouth at the camera, and I would destroy him with facts. And he would get toasted. He would get absolutely toasted. So, but let's move on to a couple other things. A lot of fan channels really suck, Party. He is telling the truth. Listen, there's good fan channels out there, yeah? And there's good fan channels out there. There really is. And some people make some good content. I still listen to Goldberg from time to time here. I've never always agreed with a lot of stuff he says. Sometimes I feel like he says shit that's like, what the fuck are you talking about, Mark? And I would love to jump on and talk to him and ask him. I'll never get that opportunity, but sometimes he says things that I do agree with, and he's on the money. I like Flex and I like KG. They're funny, they're entertaining. I think they have sort of more real conversations. I think they have good banter and stuff like that. I even like Owen on there as well. I think he's decently good, although I don't agree with Owen on some things, but I do agree with Owen on some other things. But I like Flex, I like KG. Sometimes when I need a laugh, sometimes when United's got me sort of depressed, I go watch Flex and KG, because that they're gonna make you laugh. But I like KG. I think KG doesn't get enough credit. I think KG doesn't get enough credit, because KG, he might say some crazy things sometimes, but I think KG is he's just a fan, that he's just a real fan. Like, he says what he feels. And when he actually does get serious about it, I think KG actually makes some very, very good points, and he's actually on the money. But because he's a comedian and he does a lot of the joking, I feel like, a lot of people sometimes they don't take him too seriously. I think it's a shame. I think it's a shame. I think it is a shame. Brent. Goldbridge. Yeah, listen, sometimes he says things. Maybe for content, maybe we'll do sort of a reaction to a couple of the channels one time, and I'll react to some of the things they say, and I'll make a video out of it, for the culture, for the content. I was thinking about doing that. I don't know if I need their permission for the videos. I don't think I do, because I'm adding commentary. But yeah, I was thinking about doing that, because sometimes I watch these shows and I go, you know what? They're making a good point. Then sometimes I watch these other shows and I go, nah, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's bullshit, or that's nonsense. Like, what are you saying? And I would love to like give a rebuttal, but I can't, because they're doing their own thing, and they're not gonna invite me on there, because I'm a nobody. So I'm a nobody right now. What reason I have far more to gain from going on their channels than they do having me go on theirs. So I mean, I wouldn't see it, but in future purposes, if we could grow, I would reach out to Flex and KG. I would like to get on their show. And just have a general conversation. I would like to be a part of that. I think that would be cool. I think I would bring a different perspective, New York, real, American to a certain extent, but also Maltese. So. And I don't hold back when I don't want to. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really hold back. So, you need realistic fans like me, reset culture, brand, players that work any systems. Let's remember this. We kept players 8 years too long. Well, I mean, listen, if the players are good for you, you could keep them as long as you want, but it just depends on if the benefits are outweighing the negatives here. So, there are a couple things, so let's get into this real quick, because I don't even know. How long have we been live for? I need to check the time. Okay, so I don't want it to run too long. So let's hit a couple things because there's been other news, obviously, besides Bruno and Kobbie Mainoo, which took up basically the whole show. But there has been some transfer news that we should sort of hit into here. So one of them is that earlier in the day, Semenyo playing us. Semenyo had a good game, and I think if you have two eyes and even half a brain, I think you could see that Semenyo is a good player. And I like him at United. I think he's a very good player. And he's obviously been linked with us. And he scored a great goal against us yesterday. And so we had this update early in the day saying that Manchester United are firm. This is coming from Sky Sports Lyle as well. See, Lyle, he's in here. He's the moderator. He created the Discord for us. He's in the chat. He's also on Sky Sports. So Sky Sports Lyle and Robert Dorset on Sky said earlier in the day that Manchester United are firmly in the race to sign Antoine Semenyo. United believe the opportunity to sign him, which will come next month for £65 million, is something they must genuinely consider. And then, I would say to that, it is definitely something that they should genuinely consider. And I've also said multiple times that sometimes, as much as we need a midfielder, if we can't get a proper deal for a midfielder, like let's just say, to a certain extent, we can't do Warren, we can't do Anderson, we can't do Baleba, we can't do Stiller. Andre Gomes is a no-go for us, and Conor Gallagher, they don't let him go on loan. They want to sell, and we're not interested in buying permanently. Okay, well that's like 6 players. I mean, at that point, it's like, well, what are you gonna do about the midfield? I mean, maybe you go find somebody like Lemons, who's maybe 22 or something like that, 23. That's gonna cost him maybe 25 million. Or something like that, not too expensive, that could sort of have an impact like Lemons in the midfield, and you can bring him in now, and then we go do the things that we got to do in the summer with the bigger players. In the meantime, there is a guy that we clearly would like, is a good player, and it would be one that we would particularly do in the summer, and not now, because you would say we want to do we need a midfielder now. But sometimes, I mean, if there's an opportunity, 65 million, and it's easier to get him in now, and it's the deal that's in front of you, sometimes you got to do the deal that's in front of you. And we can use him, for sure, in multiple different positions, in multiple different ways. I mean, just for the fact of, we just lost Diallo and Buemo. We don't have any more wingers. Even if Ruben sort of wants to play a 4-3-3, he can't really do it now to a certain extent wide if he's going to do that, because we don't even have any real wingers anyway now. There was talk about him playing left wing back. I mean, Xerxes, I don't know. It seems like Roma is still pushing for him, and I don't know if he's going to stay or not. It seems like there's a little bit of a question mark over him on that. So, sell Ugarte January, buy Joe Gomez. Well, I wish it was that simple. Well, number one, we need somebody to want to buy Manuel Ugarte. I don't know if there's interest in him. I'm sure that there's got to be a club, maybe, but I don't know. But maybe they'll look to do that because, he doesn't seem very useful right now, is what I'm saying. Is this like, he's barely played. He's not playing a lot. He's clearly the last one in the pecking order. And, it just doesn't. It seems like he's it seems like his space is a bit useless at the point. Like, he almost seems like a player that's there that we can't actually use to make a difference, because he just doesn't, he's not going to give the impact that we need in the team. You know what I mean? Like, defensively, he's not as good as Casemiro. When you take Casemiro out, you put him on, we essentially concede within the first 10 minutes, and it's like, a record for this. There's like a streak on this. I don't think him next to Bruno, I think is way worse than Cass next to Bruno. So it almost seems like we have a guy here that it's like we almost basically can not even really use him every match, and we're not using him like every match. So in terms of, yeah, you know, if you could get rid of him and get somebody that you can actually like lean more on or use more on in more situations, then yeah, I mean that's obviously like the key sort of thing that we got to do. Elias says I'm one busy mod, which he is. He's one busy guy. He's all over the place. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot. Let me take the jackass of the day off of my screen because I'm tired of looking at him. I forgot that was up. All right, couple rundown news here. Al Hilal are not guaranteed to make another move for Bruno Fernandes next summer, especially because the club is about to be bought by billionaire investor Prince Al Alweed bin Talal. Al Hilal are currently majority owned by public investment fund Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund. Prince Al-Walid's takeover, which could value the club at up to 2 billion Saudi riyals, which is 400 million pounds, would see one of Saudi Arabia's biggest clubs being privately owned for the first time. Interesting stuff there. A lot of Sydney Sweeney stuff on my timeline. I don't know what Elon Musk is doing, but he's Elon Musk is having a go. I don't know what's going on. Elon Musk is tweeting a lot of Sydney Sweeney stuff on my timeline, man. You got to stop with this, Elon. You got to relax. I'm trying to do a United show here. I'm trying to talk about United here, and all I see is Sydney Sweeney popping up all over my timeline. I'm not really complaining, but you know. And what else? There was a couple other things that I saw here before that we need to get into. So Fabrizio, doing an update with one of these guys from the Men in Blazers show. I don't know his name, but you know that bald guy with the glasses, if you ever seen that show. Fabrizio was doing some sort of a live or an update. They're talking about him, and Fabrizio said on midfield targets for Manchester United. This was about 2 hours ago, saying if there's a player Man United put on top of the list for sure, it's Baleba, who they absolutely love. Baleba has always been seen as the top target for Ruben Amorim, because he can bring quality and intensity, something that Amorim wants in the midfield. Not only, this isn't part of the quote, not only is that what Ruben wants, it's literally what we need. We literally need quality, intensity, I would say composure, and just legs in general. Legs and hunger. I think we need all those. So he went on to say, I'm not saying that the other two are not targets. For sure, Anderson is on the list, and Adam Wharton as well. These three players are all on the short list. Manchester United are preparing important signings in midfield in 2026. In January, Baleba, Anderson, and Wharton are unlikely to be available on the market. What I can guarantee is that Manchester United will sign one or two midfielders in 2026. Well, thank you. Lyle's a fan of Sydney Sweeney. What I can say is thank you, Fabrizio. I know you added maybe a little bit of extra context to it, but I mean, this is literally the same update we've been getting for the past 3.5 months now. Something extra that's come on sort of by Rob Dawson on Kobbie Mainoo, and you know, this is sort of you know, tagged on to Kobbie's situation, I guess, in a certain sense. But Rob Dawson had this to say on Kobbie Mainoo. He said, United have a duty to look at big offers for academy graduates. That said, I don't think there's any kind of willingness to actually sell him permanently. I'm just going to stop right there. Excuse me, Mr. Rob Dawson. What the fuck do you mean by United have a duty to look at big offers for academy graduates? It's our academy graduates, and we'll do what we want for them. If we got a guy and we don't want him to leave the football club, they can offer us 150 million. we don't need to take it. You know, it's our player. It's our academy graduate. I don't think that they necessarily have a duty. The duty to the football club is if you rate the player, the kid, that much, if he is a top talent, then actually I would argue it's the duty of the football club to make sure that he transforms into that and that he's part of this football club and he stays here. But anyway, as he continues, he said, I think there's a possibility that they may consider looking at loan offers at the end of the January window. But I think they're in the camp of he's an academy graduate, he's an England international, he's the exact type of player that United should be building their entire team around. The danger for United is that maybe right now he's not playing and they could go and accept 50 million from Chelsea. I tell you right now, if they accept a 50 million for Chelsea, I will make a 20-minute rant screaming at the camera. What you can't have happen is having him being in Chelsea's midfield for the next 15 years, and he turns out into this unbelievable talent. Even if we were to sell Kobbie Mainoo, there's so much interest in Kobbie Mainoo, we can sell him to anybody. I don't care if Chelsea offers us 20 million more. You never sell him to Chelsea. We sold Garnacho there because Garnacho's a prat and we don't give a shit anymore, okay? And he's selfish, all right? He ain't the same as Kobbie. It's not the same. And anybody that says it's the same, you're wrong. You're wrong. And I will stand on that. You're wrong. But Kobbie is not for sale. He should be going nowhere near Chelsea. If he ever decides he wants to leave, well, we're picking where you're going. And you ain't going fucking there because we're not watching this happen. So it's not happening. It's not happening. But again, as long as I've been saying this, the club doesn't seem like they want to sell him. I think if they wanted to, they would have already. I think they would have done it in the summer. I think it's literally the easiest deal for them to do. I think if United were like, we'll listen to offers for Kobbie Mainoo, permanent deal, you'll literally have about 20 clubs lining up for him. So I think it's the easiest deal for do. It's the one that would give us a good amount of money, considering he's FFP pure profit. And the fact that they're not looking to do this or have made any move to do this just tells me that they are not interested in actually selling him. So unless Kobbie decides that he wants to actually leave and tells them, I don't want to be at this football club anymore, I want to leave this football club, well, at that moment in time, they have two sorts of actions. They can either say, okay, then we'll let you go because you don't want to be here, or they could be like, listen, and try and work it out and be like, well, you know, we know you feel aggrieved or whatever, that maybe you're not getting enough time to develop or something, you know, I don't know what the plan is behind the scenes. Maybe they work it out and they let it go, but and they move past it. But yeah, I think Kobbie has made it quite clear. He's always been asked for a loan. He's still asking for a loan. He's not asking for a permanent move. As far as we know, that hasn't been made evident. The club isn't looking for a permanent move. They haven't been asking for one. They're not interested in one. So, this Chelsea thing is, I think it's Chelsea doing Chelsea things. I think they're a bit diabolical. I think they're trying to test the bear a little bit. They're trying to test the waters to see if there's any budge, any movement, because we know Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea are sort of, how do I put this bluntly? Chelsea are wonder kid whores. Yeah, they will go and buy. I mean, if there's a sniff that the kid might be a wonder kid, they will go buy him. They don't give a shit for any price. They'll put him in, they'll bring him in. And if he doesn't work, they'll throw him aside and they'll get rid of him. And if he does, they'll keep him, But any sort of sniff of a player that's 17, 18, 19, 20, that has some sort of a, potential of a top talent, they foam out the mouth for him. And if they don't be good, then they discard them like a dirty Dick's McDonald's bag. So, but yeah, I mean, listen, and also I think Scholes played into this by saying go to Chelsea. So I think now this Chelsea thing's popped up, and then that is a bunch of bullshit. What I will say though is, even if he was to leave, I think him going to Chelsea would be a horrible move for him because, again, I mean, look how well it's gone for Garnacho. Because Chelsea don't actually care. People say we don't, we're not taking care of our youth, but Chelsea don't actually give a shit. They will replace you. You are just sort of a number at that football club. And, it's their football club. If that's how they want to treat people, go ahead. It's not my football club. I don't give a shit. I'm just saying in general. I think Kobbie could probably go to another, 8 different places ahead of Chelsea, and it'll probably be a better situation for him. But I don't really fear him leaving. I don't think he is going to leave. I think he, listen, I think he has a good head on his shoulders. I think he loves this football club. It's sort of been his whole life. It's a bit similar to Rashford in a certain way. And I think he also feels like, the chapter isn't, it's not done. It's not done. I think he felt like it was just starting to get started, and it sort of took, a step back or two. And I think probably he feels a bit hard done by that, in terms of that, no, I'm not really going to call it quits yet, because there's more to this story here. But, we didn't finish this arc. We didn't finish this arc here yet. There's more to this arc. And I'm not just going to call it quits on this, at this moment in time. So, he says, Kobbie's not for sale. Well, that's what it seems like. And hopefully it stays that way, because he shouldn't be. Cunha, Mason Mount, Lisandro Martinez helps Sesko. Aiden Heaven, same Mateus the Lid. And Lucky says, Eric, I hope have 2 experienced heads back support Aiden Heaven game Newcastle. Well, listen, I think they will develop naturally. I think they'll be all right. We need our guys back in there. We need Maguire's back in there with the experience. We need Mateus de Ligt. We need Lisandro Martinez to get back to full fitness and be able to play 90-minute games and get back to full sharpness and be there. I think the kids will be all right. I think Yoro will be all right. I think Aiden Heaven will be all right. And the more they grow and the more opportunities that they'll be able to get, they get more consistency under their belt. I think they'll be fine. I mean, I'm not too concerned about them. I think they'll be okay. They will have to learn to make tackle. Yeah. I mean, listen, they got a ways to go. They are a bit inexperienced. They're on the younger side, and to play for Manchester United, it's a great task. At 20 years old, 19 years old, it is hard. That's why I don't believe in sort of, some of these fans, they go crazy. They're talking about, at one point they're talking about throwing Cheeto, in the starting lineup over Rasmus Højlund. And I'm like, you're crazy. Rasmus Højlund had more experience than Cheeto. And just because Rasmus was struggling, you think Cheeto's going to lead this line? Look at what it's doing to Rasmus. It's not going to work the way you think it is. It's not going to work the way you think it is. And when I look at Lenny and I look at Aiden, dude, they're 1920. Look at the position of our football club. We are struggling. We got experienced players struggling to deal with the pressure. The pressure is immense. These kids, I'd rather them just focus on the develop. I don't want them to be sort of the main focal point of the team. I don't think they should be. I think they should be doing their bits to grow, and there shouldn't be so much focus on them. They are 1920. They got the next 2 or 3 years to really come a little bit more into their own. And then obviously they don't hit their prime until at least maybe you say 24, 25, and you sustain that for the next 5 or 6 years if you're really that top of a talent. I mean, couple other things. Fabrizio said many people asking about Man United. Man United love the player. They're talking about some menu here. Man United love the player, and Amorim loves the player. He had a direct contact with the player last summer. But United already invested big money in Cunha and Wema last summer, so at the moment, nothing concrete. Well, I would say with Xerxes, sort of question mark over Xerxes, um, and we need more games going into the future. Maybe he's one of a replacement or something like that. So, um, Rob Dawson on ESPN talking about Ruben Amorim saying, I think the club wants to give him at least this season. I think they do too. I think they made that quite clear and obvious. In their ideal world, they would qualify for Europe this year, then give Ruben the players he needs in the summer, and then look at it seriously this time next year. So what's that? You've got 20 odd games of next season, and if things aren't going well at that point, you probably have to look at it and go, right, we've given this quite a lot of time. We've given him players, we've given him money to spend, or the club have spent for him, which I think that's the correct thing, is that the club are spending for him, but I think they also have to be spending for the club, like I've always said. And it's still not working. Do we need to make a manager change? And I think, yeah, that's when you make the manager change. Like, I think he does get the rest of the season as long as he stays in contention. As long as he keeps himself in as long as he keeps United in the conversation for Europe, top 4, top 6, then he should be able to continue on. I don't really give a shit what happened last season. We're in a new season, and he has an opportunity to succeed, and he gets the right to either succeed or fail. And based on what he does is what happens after that. If he fails, then he's probably going to have to go. If he succeeds, then he should probably stay here, and we move on to the next phase and see what he can do with, from there. That's always kind of where I sit. That's why it's always about results. It's always about results, and it's all about how the league is shaping up, the table is shaping up. Listen, we've missed 5 opportunities. I don't think all those opportunities are on him, though. I think some of them is just personnel issue, and I say this all the time, regardless of the manager, we 100% have a personnel issue, and the next guy is going to have a personnel issue because we need to continue to build the squad out, and our players are not good enough to a certain level. Apparently, many at United been left frustrated by Morocco after they refused to let Mazzawari play against Bournemouth, feeling like they have been unfairly punished for having their game being moved to Monday. Yeah, I mean, listen, we could have used him yesterday. You talk about, we were missing some experience there. You talked about, that we had to play Lenny Yoro and Aiden Heaven sort of next to each other because you can't play Luke Shaw in the center. And, Martinez still can't give us 90 minutes. So we could have used Mazzawari's experience there yesterday, and we could have used him, playing right center back. And we could have had it more balanced, where it could have been, one younger, inexperienced guy in the center, like he's been doing, Maz on the right, Luke on the left, and then obviously, sub the younger guy in, put the other younger guy in, so it sort of stays balanced to that degree. So it's a bit unfortunate. Laz says, we are in the mix, and I honestly don't see the panic. I get the last few results at home have been disappointing, but I feel for now there has been a bit of an overreaction. You know what it is, Lyle? It's just that people they're just... and I mean, I guess to each their own, but I mean, I don't view it this way, and I don't really care to. And people are combining last season to this season, and they're combining the whole picture, and they're looking at it, and they're saying, well, last season was dog shit, and this season is, nothing that's they would consider amazing. But I mean, if you look at my argument to that would be, I mean, coming off 15th before we even kicked the ball this season, if you said we were in contention for a top 4 spot, top 6, I think most people would have bit your hand off for that and would have been like, yeah, that's great, because we were really unsure what's going to happen. I mean, people are looking at it 15th. I've always held the opinion that the 15th, I know that's where we finished, and I know we lost the Europa League final, but that 15th it was never going to be replicated. I think, again, it always had to do a lot with the circumstances of last season. I think it had to do a lot with stuff that was not really on the, that had to do with Ruben specifically. Um, but just sort of the circumstances of the football club and the changes they made. And, there's only so much that he can do. And so I think some people, when they look at it, they go crazy because they're like, well, he has 30% win ratio and we finished 15th last season and they don't give a shit about this season. But for me, I've kind of separated it and I don't care what people think, if that's right or wrong. That's what I choose to do. And right now we're in the middle of a season and he's in the mix. We're in the mix. So he has, in my opinion, he has every opportunity to either succeed or fail. And if he fails, he fails. And then he can go. And if he succeeds, then good. Then we can keep moving forward and he can go into next season and we can continue with the project and hopefully we make even better improvements and strides next season. So that's what I think it is. I think a lot of people are looking at the whole thing. They combine it all into one and they're like, well, he finished 15th last season and, he has a 30% win ratio. And like, all right, but like, whatever. An orange is orange and an apple is red sometimes, and sometimes it's green. I don't know. That's the basic of the conversation you want to have. Go ahead. It's what these people seem to spew a lot. We're aiming 7th or 5th place this season. I think aim as high as possible. Just as long as they get Europe. I was looking at it. If we took a couple of the opportunities that we blew so far, we could be easily in 4th or 3rd right now, and we'd be in a very good position. So, and I would love if they finish in 3rd or 4th. So why not? I mean, and if they end up finishing in 5th or 6th, that's good. That's still good enough. Still Europe. I told fans this is a building season. Yeah, but they don't want to hear that, Lucky. They don't want to accept that. These people don't accept that. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear about building. I kind of get them in a certain sense because, I mean, how many times on their, every 3 years or so, the club has always told us, oh, it's it's a building project. We got to rebuild. So, I get why they don't really have the patience, but I think you just sort of got to be a dummy, or you just got to be ignorant to the fact of that, like, you don't see what it is. Like, you don't see like the level of the players and where the club has been, and you think that we're still in a position that it takes 1 to 2 seasons to totally fix this football club. You might feel like that's what the situation should be, but you have to have your eyes open to the fact that that's not the case, unfortunately. No matter how much you want it to be the case, it's not the case. It's not the case, it's really not the case. So, Axe is here. What's up? They said Amorim and United are big fans of Semenyo. However, there's nothing concrete yet, especially after investing in Cunha and in Mbeumo last summer. Well, I mean, there's contrary reports here. I mean, Roberto saying one thing. I think ESPN saying the opposite. Nice that I'm online. Well, I've been online for a while. I'm better get out of here. Soon. So, next couple minutes. My first day of the winter holiday, I will return to work in 2026. Oh, you're on holiday. Pretty stressful day, to be honest. You had a stressful day on your first day of winter holiday. Last night was a shit show. Well, listen, I don't think it was the worst thing. Okay, I had a little bit of time to sort of digest it, and listen, I think there was some good things. There was obviously some bad things, and ultimately, obviously, we didn't take the opportunity once again to get 3 points and go there. But I think there was some encouraging signs. I think the fact that, like, we did step up in terms of we did go for it more. We were more direct. We had more intent. we played better attacking football to a certain extent. You know, we didn't see West Ham United. We didn't see Everton, United. We didn't see Wolves first half United. We saw United actually playing like attacking intentful football. Then obviously the bad part was, that we were way too exposed in the back, and the midfield and the defense just, couldn't do what they needed to do. And we got exposed for it, We got exposed for it, and we conceded 4. That was the bad part. So, I would still say to people out there, because I seen some people say, like Gary Neville was saying, like, he was much happier because of the attacking intent from United, and they were entertained, and this is sort of what they want to see, and they could sort of, live with this to a better extent of, playing like that. And even though we didn't get the 3 points and we're disappointed, like we could sort of live with that a little more. I will say, we quite clearly, obviously, still have an issue when we go to play a team that is going to play drop back, low block, strict and tight in the shape, and that game was that way because there was space. And when we have a match where we play space, United do tend to play good. We tend to play good attacking football. Our problem has always been when we play a team with a low block. And because we played with that intent yesterday, I don't think all of a sudden, if we go and play a team with a low block or that is quite rugged in the defensive shape and makes it very hard and there's not a lot of space, I don't think all of a sudden we're going to start ripping them apart. So, I think some of the times we're still going to have to figure it out, because that sort of football causes problems for everybody. I mean, Arsenal are league leaders right now, and it causes them problems all the time. When it's done against Manchester City, it causes them problems a lot as well. When people do it to Liverpool, it's caused them problems as well. That sort of football is to a certain level effective to a certain degree. So it is very hard to break down if executed properly. It is very hard to sort of actually play football when you are basically playing, when you're the only team that's actually playing football, and the other team is kind of just standing there. So we obviously have that problem. I don't expect us to be able to rip apart a team that's going to sit back and, be in a low block. But generally, I mean, when teams come to play football and there's space, we tend to do okay, good. But our problem now is the defense. Our problem is the defense. We're conceding too many goals, and we can't keep clean sheets. We only kept 1 clean sheet this season, and it was against Sunderland, I think, if I'm not mistaken. That's an issue. It's a bit of an issue. Like, we don't necessarily need to be going on a 8-game run of clean sheets, but a clean sheet here, a clean sheet there. But we're not getting that. We have 1, and then it's like every game, we're going to concede. We're going to concede 1. So we need to score a bunch of goals. We need to score 3. We need to score 2, 3, 4 goals, because we're gonna concede at least 1. And if you concede 1, you can always concede another. So this is sort of the second aspect now, because we talked a lot about the attack, and Box was quick to point out the other day, and even in the Discord before I went live, like he said, the conversion rate is still shit. But the thing is that we're creating a lot more opportunities, and we're having a lot more shots. And technically, yes, for the amount of shots and then shots on target we're having, the conversion rate isn't great, but we are having a lot of shots, and I think, at the very least, that's a huge change from what was going on before, where we weren't creating a lot. We weren't having a lot of shots, and the conversion rate might not be great because we're having so many shots. We're having about 20-something shots a match, which is good because that increases our odds. That means that just by default facto, you should have a ton of shots on target at some level. And if the more shots you have on target, that means that at some point there should be a goal going in somehow, some way. Which is, I think, what has increased in terms of the attacking output, that the goals is happening. Now, if you're saying you want the conversion rate to really be on fire, I mean, we would be doing something insane if that's the case, because the conversion rate then we would probably end up averaging like 4 to 5 goals a game if the conversion rate is really locked in. But because we're taking so many shots, it's quite scattered. It's quite all over the place. Now, what needs to be sorted out, and I don't know if we're going to be able to really sort this out, because I think we can mitigate it if we get some of our, guys back in the defense. But I still think that combination of the midfield and the defense, it's a problem. The midfield suffers a lot because we don't have the players for it. And the defense, obviously, from missing the likes of Dalit or Mazawari or, Harry Maguire. And even, I would throw in Lisandro Martinez, and we're missing these guys. The defense isn't as strong as it can be. So to me, yesterday, that's what it was. Like, the midfield just, again, Bruno can't really do the defensive side. He doesn't really have the specialty for what that really calls for, but we don't really have a player for it. That's why we're looking at people like Wharton, Baleba. Those guys have the specific characteristics for what that job entails. We don't really have that at our football club. And then you look at the back line, and, it's Luke Shaw, who I thought had an off game yesterday, and, he's a left back that we've converted into a center back. And then we have 2 kids, and they're, inexperienced compared to these other guys. So that's where we sort of lost the game for me. It was the midfield and then the defense, the circumstances surrounding that and all that. So yeah, we need to get some of our guys back there. We just got to keep up. Listen, all we got to do at this time is we just need to keep up trying. We need to keep up the shots creation, the chance creations. We need to keep up the ball, going into the net. We need to keep that aspect up. And then, hopefully we sort out the defensive side. And I think maybe in a little bit of due time, hopefully we actually can do that. I think, Dalit comes back, Maguire comes back, Lisandro returns to full fitness and can give us 90 minutes. Maybe we hit a period where, maybe Lenny gets a little bit out of the funk and refines, or hits a good patch of form. Maybe Heaven grows a little bit and gets rid of some of the rustiness and gets into a good patch of form. And then Mazawari comes back, and, and the circumstances back there can change. And then maybe we do something in January and we actually get some sort of a midfielder to help us. Things can change. Could take like another month or so, but there's a lot of games in there. But the defensive aspect could turn around. There's plenty of time to turn it around. So, I would hope that that's what happens. For that aspect. Rob Dawson also did say that he said, I think Amorim would love to include more academy players in the squad. At the moment, he just doesn't feel like the right level is there, and that's really not for him to solve. That's for the guys in charge of the academy to solve. Hopefully, in the next couple of years, we will see a wave of academy kids coming through who are at that level at the moment. I think if Ruben was sat here right now, he would tell you, if he was being completely honest, that the level of the academy is not where it needs to be. I think Ruben's made that quite clear. It's literally what I've been arguing. I think he's made it quite clear. Whether you want to accept that or not, go ahead. But I mean, he's the manager. There's other people that are working there with him. There's people in charge of the academy. And as far as we know, Ruben is not ignoring the people of the academy. Ruben is not ignoring these people. It's not like they're telling him to use these players and play them. And I've always said I believe he's taken their recommendations and sort of their views, because they're the ones dealing with these players, and they're giving their honest opinions, and they're probably not recommending that they are at the proper level that they need them to be. And so therefore he's not using them. You know, that's all it is. But some people don't want to accept this because, I don't know, they live in 92 or something like that. And you know, my whole thing is, I mean, again, with this youth, like, I know it's part of the long-standing history, but people look at 99, the class of 92, and I'm sorry, after that class of 92, how much luck have we actually had with the youth academy? How much did we actually produce out of that after that? You know, we had a golden period in that age. It was one of the greatest things people have ever seen. But after that, at what level did it really hit to that point? It hasn't. So, you know, I think people go a little bit overboard with that too, because they look at that and they're like, well, we've always produced top talent. We've always produced top talent. I'm like, well, we produced some talent. I wouldn't call them top talent. Not after that period. They didn't go on to win Ballon d'Ors. They didn't go on to, you know, fucking be considered top 5 players. They might have been useful, but I mean, let's be real. Bro, in the first half, Casemiro was at his prime and the midfield was good. Also, Mainoo came in and he was brilliant. Okay, but what about the second half, where we conceded 3 goals? You know, if the defense is having a problem, part of the problem has to be the midfield. So they go hand in hand with each other, just like how the attack needs the midfield's help as well. You know, that's why the midfield is so important, because it's literally, it operates on both ends. So if the defense is struggling, it's the defense, but then also there's 2 players in front of them. I would even go as far as to say even just the team in general, you know, the whole team, like the 2 10s, everybody transitioning back, they weren't doing it. So defensively as a team, as a whole, it just wasn't on it. Just wasn't on it. You know, there was too many times we got caught in a bad position, lost the ball in a bad position. The transition to defense wasn't good enough. Our defenders, you know, Heaven was struggling to sort of, that's sort of like he's making a run, follow him. You know, Luke Shaw lost the ball in a bad spot. I watched him jog back while Mason Mount's busting his ass to get back there. You know, I didn't like that. You know, there was a couple circumstances where it's just like they sort of made the same run through the center like 7-8 times, and the guy just wasn't getting picked up. Just wasn't getting picked up properly. Was given too much space. So yeah. I don't know. But we'll see. I mean, listen, we got a few days now. I mean, it's when's the match? On Sunday. And it's Tuesday now, so not that far out. We could have really used Maz yesterday and his experience, because we were the lack of that yesterday to a certain extent. Listen, relax. This guy said a lot of things today. I don't know when he became a Manchester United expert. He even went on to say, I don't actually think that Amorim wants to play Bruno in that 6th position. I think he would much rather play him higher up. Ruben Amorim can see what a lot of the fans see, that Bruno Fernandes is far better on the ball around the box. The problem Amorim has got is that he doesn't have many midfielders who want to get on the ball and are mobile enough to get up and down. Bruno really is the only one and can afford to have him there and that deep lying midfield role, because you spent money on Cunha and to fill those 2 number 10 roles. I think it would, in a perfect world, he would have Bruno, but the situation that he's dealing with just won't allow for it. He's lucky that Bruno is adaptable enough to play in a number of different positions. And these are the people that I love on social media. Yeah, that's a lie. Amorim spent 70 million on Cunha and Mbeumo to bench them. Amorim didn't spend the money. Talk about not being in tune with how the club is operating. Like, they had a plan to revamp the attack. You don't understand that Jason Wilcox and Ineos are leading this whole thing. They are the ones that are pushing this. Jason Wilcox's job is to work with Ruben Amorim. They said, okay, we need to revamp the attack. I don't think Ruben sat there and said, I need 2 number 10s and no midfielder. I think Ruben was like, I need midfielders, I need number 10s, I need fucking striker, I need all these guys. And the club could only do what they did. Again, like, I don't know. Some people have this mentality of like 15 years ago. Like, we're not operating like that. Football's not operating like that. Look at all the other clubs. They're not operating like that. The manager has his say and has wants. At the end of the day, the people running the football club are ultimately going to make the decisions and the planning. So, it's quite funny. Oh my God, look who it is. Look who it is. It's a Christmas present. Oh, well, Richard's here, but I haven't seen Lion. We haven't seen Lion in so long. He just made my day. I'm just so happy that he just jumped in here. I'm just so happy he's here. Everybody say hello. He's been missing for quite a long time. He's gone MIA on us. Oh my God, I was not expecting that to happen. I was actually gonna get off like 10 minutes ago. I would have missed you. How you doing, buddy? How you doing, Richard? How is everybody? Oh my God. I just saw the chat and I was like, I couldn't read. I was like, am I reading this right? It says Lionhearts is here. How are you, my friend? How are you? How are you? Richard says, well, here we go again. The life of a Manchester United fan. Well, yeah. Yeah, it's never a dull day, is it? Lion says, yo, Red Devils and Axe. I'm sorry for the radio silence. How goes it with everyone? I think Lyle's here too. He's just listening and not chatting much, but he was here before. I think he's listening. Jason Wilcox works us, scores goals in midfield. Lions, how you been, bro? How you been? It's been a while, my friend. You know, there was a period of time where I was worried. I was worried about you because you didn't say a peep. You disappeared, and I was just like, I hope this guy's okay because I didn't know what was going on. I was like, I hope like everything's all right. You know, I was just hoping that you were busy. That's it. You know, I don't care if you're busy. If you're busy, that's the best thing ever. You know, that means things are going well. And you know, life is going well. It's always good to be busy. You know, so I'm tired, man, revamping a new restaurant. Yeah, I heard, you know, you did message me that time. I was asking Lyle about you because I was like, dude, I didn't know what happened. And, you know, I was on my own thing for a while. And then I was like, you know, I haven't heard from Lions for a while. I was like, what happened to Lions? I was like, I hope he's okay. So, and then, you know, you did message me, you told me. So, yeah, revamping a new restaurant. I mean, that sounds like a lot of work. That makes me feel tired, and I ain't even doing it. So, Axe says we're in an ever. Oh boy, yeah, Lions. You know, you missed it. You know, Axe has really gone, you know, to Jupiter. He's been going full Jupiter since you've been gone, and you know. So it's been rough. It's been rough. You know, this has been up and down with the United. You know, sometimes good, sometimes shit. Sometimes we have hope. Sometimes it looks like everything's in disarray. I don't know. I don't know. We were talking about Bruno Fernandes earlier and the whole situation, and it's not even mine. That's the worst part. It's not even yours. It's somebody else's. We were talking about the whole Bruno quotes earlier in the show. He came out. He said a lot of things. He said he felt hurt by United, in a certain sense, because he didn't really feel backed. He felt like they left the door open for him to, leave, and that sort of hurt him because he loves this football club. And yeah, I mean, we had a good, decent discussion about it. I can understand his viewpoint. I also don't really take anything against the club. I think the club, according in Bruno's own words, I think the club did what I asked the club to do anyway. So I can't now sit here and say, well, fuck them. Look what they did to Bruno. They hurt my guy and they upset him and blah, 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 blah. I can understand Bruno's standpoint, but at the same time, I think they did what they needed to do. I think they didn't actively look to sell him or push him out. They weren't the ones that came up with the idea of this. It sort of landed at their table. And they put it up to Bruno. And I think they kind of considered it. They considered it. I think you have to consider it. I think you would be a fool not to consider it. Now, I don't know the discussions that they had, sort of face to face with Bruno in the way in how they told him about this and talked to him about this. And maybe they said words that didn't sound great or, it didn't come off well. And maybe Bruno didn't, he took it a bit more to heart. I think there's a way to sort of play it. But I think they had to look at it. I think you have to think about it. I mean, you're talking about 100 million for a player. And we've always said, to a certain extent, listen, you could use those funds to rebuild the squad. You could. And that seems like what they were sort of looking into. But ultimately, they left it up into Bruno because Ruben wanted him to stay. And they knew Ruben's stance. And they said, so, Bruno, listen, there's an offer. We haven't accepted it or anything, but, if you want to go, then, we'll have a conversation about it. But if you want to stay, then okay. And Bruno kind of felt, some type of way about that because he was like, well, if you really loved me, sort of, to paraphrase, if you really loved me, if you really wanted me to stay, you wouldn't even really offer me that, would you? You would just be like, yeah, he's not for sale and you're not going anywhere. And they sort of left it, open to the end. So that was the main part. Then we talked a little bit about Kobbie Mainoo, because his half brother decided to be he wanted to be Jackass of the Day and wear a free Kobbie Mainoo t-shirt and make it all about him, and not really help Kobbie's situation per se, let's say that, even though I don't think you could really take it against Kobbie, and I don't think Ruben will be taking it against Kobbie or anything like that. I think that would be weird and foolish. But yeah, I mean, wearing actually, if you want to see him, here you go. You want to see the Jackass of the Day, here he is. Here is the Jackass of the Day, Kobbie Mainoo's half brother, wearing a free Kobbie shirt that, for those of you that I explained this already, but he was on Love Island. I'm not a Love Island fan, but this is what I've seen people say. And he seems to be one of those pretentious jackasses that is very self-centered. They seem to think that this was some sort of a publicity stunt for himself, and he's just using the opportunity to capitalize on it because it is a huge talking point. It's very, massively public right now. And, being Kobbie's half-brother, wearing a free Kobbie Mainoo shirt, taking a picture at Old Trafford and putting on Instagram is definitely going to get you, talked about, known about. And to be fair to him, even though I don't like it, I will say, listen, before he did this, I didn't even know this guy existed. I didn't know he existed, didn't know his name, didn't know who he is. Now I know who he is. So, to a certain extent, I mean, he did sort of succeed in his endeavor, I guess. But yeah. What a muppet. Where was he? He was there. He was at the match. What was Kobbie's brother all about? Well, this is what it was all about. He showed up to the match yesterday. As you can see, he's at Old Trafford. He's in the front row. presumably probably free tickets. Probably. But the thing is about this is, like, this is sort of the first time I'm seeing him, and as far as I can tell, like, Kobbie doesn't really, not that I've seen, it doesn't seem like Kobbie really keeps him close around. I mean, if you see Kobbie's, you know, if you pull up Kobbie's signing of his professional contract for Manchester United, like, you know, he's not there. Like, his sisters are there, his mother is there with him, you know, and maybe his father or whoever else was with him there. Yeah, so actually I have the picture right here, so I'll pull it up so you can see it. I'll pull it up. So, like, you know, I don't know, like, I don't know what their family dynamic is, but you know, again, I've never really seen this guy. I've seen these, I've seen this part of his family before. Where did that go? Oh, it's up here. I've seen this part of his family before. Well, let me just fix this. So, like, this is when he signed his professional contract, you know, at Manchester United. These are his two sisters, his mother, and his father. Like, so, you know, there's no, this guy was not there. Like, so I don't actually think Kobbie, like, I don't think he's, like, actually somebody close. I don't think Kobbie had any, like, idea that, you know, he was gonna do this. I don't think, like, they chatted it and Kobbie was like, yeah, wear a free Kobbie Mainoo t-shirt for the match and show up to Old Trafford. I'll give you the tickets and go take a picture and make a statement. I don't think that happened. That doesn't strike me like that. So, yeah. Richard says, yeah, if we win on the 4th of January, I'll be getting kicked to Saturn when I get up and shout. No, you told he's from an island or what? Eh? Newcastle United won 2 midfield to getting cards for a game with us. Well, I don't know. I don't know anything about Newcastle. I'm not a Newcastle fan. But yeah, I mean, listen, you know, I've seen a lot of people that were quite rightly upset because they like Kobbie Mainoo. They're like, listen, that's not going to help his situation. A lot of people said it was a sort of a self-centered action. They don't think it was really, you know, for Kobbie's benefit or anything like that. It was more, you know, a selfish thing. It was for him. It was to promote himself. It was to get people. It was a publicity stunt for himself. It wasn't really about Kobbie. So, and you know, I'll give Kobbie the benefit of the doubt as well. You know, I've said I don't think he's like Garnacho. I don't think we've had instances like he's like Garnacho. I think Kobbie has been fairly professional throughout this time. Kobbie's not asking for, you know, a transfer out of the club in terms of a permanent move. He's always asked for a loan. He's still asking for a loan. And that's fine for this specific situation, you know. And I don't think he's going to go anywhere. So I think it'll be fine. I don't think Kobbie was involved at all. Yeah, I think it would be too far of a reach to say Kobbie knew that this was going to happen, or, you know, we have no proof of it. So I think, you know, listen, for our player, I think we have to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think the fact that you don't see Kobbie going on Instagram, putting up weird Instagram shade posts or liking, you know, posts of other people that says bad shit about Ruben Amorim or, you know, whatever it is, you know, we haven't seen that. So I like to give the kid the benefit of the doubt. So I'm going to, because that's usually what I do when there isn't the actual proof. There's nothing that I can, you know, it's not like I could go through Kobbie's phone and be like, oh shit, look, he had text messages between him and his half brother, and they literally discussed it. Like, Kobbie knew he's guilty. Like, nobody knows, you know. So, and we're not going to get the answer to it. So, as far as going forward, listen, I mean, it's sort of a problem, isn't it? Because Kobbie could message him or give him a call and give him a ring and tell him, listen, I don't appreciate you doing that. I don't want that extra bullshit. Don't do that. You know, you're making the situation worse or whatever. But at the same time, if this guy is really a self-centered asshole and he's doing it as a publicity stunt for himself, and he, you know, and it's not really about Kobbie, then, you know, what does Kobbie do? what can you really do other than, if maybe Kobbie's getting him tickets to the game just because he's like a family member and, he's a nice guy and he likes to help out all his family members. Maybe he removes the tickets. I saw that's kind of a speculation on that, in that, he's getting free tickets to the match or something. But I mean, it's just somebody on Twitter. I don't know if they actually know that or they're just speculating that because he's related. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's not getting free tickets. Maybe he is. I don't know. Do we need Calvert-Lewin now? He hasn't missed a beat. He hasn't missed a beat. No, I don't think we need Calvert-Lewin. Although he scored some goals. Listen, I think the attack is doing all right. Can we round out a couple things? Sure. We need, probably, we need Sesko to be given some time. I think, listen, like when Sesko came on yesterday, yeah, Sesko, I've seen him make that driving run a lot of times. His issue is, I think, sort of a similar issue to what Xerxes had. Remember when Xerxes started the season last season? And remember, like, everybody was sort of getting on his back, and he even got booed that one game, which I didn't think was nice or correct. But remember around that time, Xerxes seemed a bit, just too slow. Like, he was too slow to react. He was too slow to make turns. He was too slow in the dribbling and the passing and decision making. And then later on, he kind of caught up and, he started doing a lot better in those situations. And I kind of feel like that's what I'm seeing with Sesko, because I've seen Sesko, yesterday when he picked up that ball, I think it was 2 separate times. He picked up that ball around midfield. And one of them, he was by himself. Yeah, like there was no options. There was somebody like really far, probably was Mbeumo or Diallo far, but there was about 4 or 5 defenders from Bournemouth. And, he tried to run at the defenders, which is what I want my striker to do. And I encouraged him to do it. I was doing the watch along. I said, go at them, run at them. But obviously, he did okay. And then just the touch wasn't quick enough. It just wasn't quick enough for the Premier League. And I seen him do it a ton of times in he's done it in some Champions League games, but he's done it in Bundesliga. But the thing is, the Bundesliga is not the Champions League. So he's going to have to increase that quickness. He's going to have to increase that speed a little bit, or just reaction time. And I think if he can do that, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of better things to come from him. And then, obviously the opposite side of that is, one of the things that quite rightly pissed me off is, well, I don't know why we seem to do this, but we seem to, for some reason, right? For some reason, we do seem to do this where he's not on the pitch. We send in a bajillion crosses into the box. And then he comes on the pitch and, like, dude, they pissed me off at the end yesterday because I was hoping that we could somehow, get a winner, like Fergie time winner of some sort. And the last, like, 2 or 3 balls that went into the box, they're crossing it to bloody Dorgu. They're crossing it to Dorgu at the back post. And I'm like, we got a guy that's 6'5" that can literally jump the height of the crossbar. And you're sending the balls to Dorgu. I was like, why? Just kick it to him. Just kick it to the 6'5" striker. Is it that hard? I feel like he's not there. We kick all the balls that we're supposed to kick it into the area where he would be. And then when he comes on, it's like, yeah, let's not kick it into that area for whatever fucking reason. I can't tell you the reason, but it's like, let's kick it not to the area of where we were kicking it before, because now Sesko's there. And like, why would we want him to score or something? That's how it feels to me. I don't really get it. I don't really understand it. Richard says Sesko will come good. I think he will come good. I just think he needs a bit more time. For me, it's what I'm analyzing is like, it's kind of like right there. It's kind of like right there. He's got some qualities about him already. It's just like sort of what I would say, couple finishing touches on him that needs to be rounded out, that needs to be sharpened. Because if he can get up to the reaction speed, if he can take quicker touches, if he can cut those defenders, the confidence that he already shows to be trying these things and doing these things, and with sort of the ability. I mean, he can dribble pretty good for his height. For how tall he is, he can dribble pretty good, and he has a decently good amount of speed as well. if he can get that aspect of just reaction time in terms of, when the defender goes to tackle and he cuts the ball on them, and then he can cut right past them, he's going to be very dangerous. So that will be good to have a striker that can do that. And then the second part is obviously the service from our other guys to him in the box. Like I want to see more crosses to this guy's head. I want to see more crosses in his direction, as many crosses as possible. I would like to see this guy getting the ball crossed to him at least like 12 times a game, at least, maybe more, just to give him as many opportunities, because the more you give him the crosses, the more you would say, well, there's got to be a chance at least one time that the ball actually goes through and that he actually gets connection to it. And then, once he does, then it's on him to put it into the back of the net. So, yeah, Lion says, hey, Sean, Shaw, though, not been injured yet. Well, listen, I've been giving him a lot of credit, and I've been having this conversation because I think one of the things is, Lions, is that I've been saying, I think it's because, and I think Ruben sort of alluded to this in his pre-match press conference before the Bournemouth match, is that he was talking about, we're playing Luke in sort of a different position. And that was my initial understanding and thought of it. Playing left center back, there's a lot less demand on his body. There's a lot less stress. He doesn't have to do as much running in terms of, if he's playing left wing back, he's constantly running up and down the pitch. Even when he was playing left back, he was still told to push up forward. He still then has to run back. You're probably going to get tackled a lot more as well. There's probably more room for you to maybe get a sort of a bad tackle, a bad injury if you're constantly pushed up in the attacking phase and you're trying to attack. He still joins in there at left center back, but it's not as much as the wing back, obviously. So, and Ruben sort of alluded to this. I think it's just less running, so it's less stress to his body. They also made some other changes. He said, I can't really tell you which one it specifically is, but he's like, it only really takes one thing for you to sort of have a good season and be fit, and he is fit. Now, he kind of let me down a little bit yesterday because I thought his performance wasn't that great, and I before the match, I gave him a lot of praise because I was saying over the past few matches, he was doing really good. Like, he was going hard into tackles, he had intent, he was showing like strength and force and, aggression, and just like an intent to win the ball first and step to the ball and then sort of getting stuck in. And I like those things. And I think, those are good things and I want to see a couple more of our defenders do it. We've seen Delit do it sometimes. A couple other ones. I think we've even seen Harry Maguire done it sometimes. So, but yesterday there was a couple times during the match. It was a step down from what I saw from him last match. But, yeah, I mean, he's stayed fit, which initially I was surprised, but I was like, you know what? I was like, it could be just him playing left center back. Maybe he's made some adjustments in some other places as well. But we need it. We need a fit Luke Shaw. We need as many players as fit as possible. As I've always said, I didn't think that it was possible for him to do it because the guy has literally never done it ever, not once, since we signed him. So I was just like, at this point, I mean, how is it even possible? And I didn't think it was possible, but we seem to be doing it right now. So kind of knock on wood for him, and I will. And hopefully he keeps it up till the end of the year, Lion says, I think Sesko will adapt. Yeah, he did. Listen, he needs time to adapt. He needs probably a year. He probably needs a year. I would give him a year. Obviously, we need to make progress along the way. You can't just be like, oh, yeah, we'll just wait till next year. But what I'm saying is, I usually give him a year. Like, a guy like him, coming from the Bundesliga at his age, I usually give him a grace period of a year. And we need him to still do some things on the pitch. Like, he can't be totally useless, you know what I mean? But I think for him to really find his feet, generally, you hope, within a year, within a season, by the time you go into next season, you want to see like large strides of improvement, especially when you compare it from that season to the next season. So we have a lot of great players. They need to get into a rhythm, says Axe, of the team. one match a week isn't helping at all. They all need patience and encouragement. Yeah, you know what? I mean, that could be the downfall, a little bit. That one match a week maybe is that's why there's always good and bad things, Axe. There's always good and bad things with everything. Like, yes, should we be technically more fresh and should we have less injuries because we're playing less matches? Yes. Should we then technically also, have maybe more time on the training pitch? Yes. But I mean, there is a thing like, if you're playing 2 to 3 matches a week, you might be able to stay in a better rhythm. Whereas if you're playing one match a week, it's an extended longer period of time of not playing a match. So maybe it's easier to go out of a rhythm. So, it could be quite possible as well that this is sort of one of the negatives of, not being in as many competitions and having as many matches to play as we could. So Lyle is back here. I knew he was here somewhere. But yeah, I think it's a good point. Lions. I think he's only said this because you're here. Because I've been trying to ask him to give me some sort of statements like this. It's been sort of a fight. Sometimes he gives them to me, and then sometimes he decides he wants to go full blown Jupiter, and we lose him. So, but again, when he makes statements like this, I think we all appreciate it, and he actually contributes something quite good to the show that we could actually have a discussion and make a point to it. So, and when he does them, they're actually good. That's the major point. When he actually says things like this, they're actually good. Like, they're actually things that you can have an actual discussion about. So, Richard says the other thing is after Christmas, FA Cup round 3 is coming up, so players will get game time. Well, I mean, it is another opportunity. And listen, it's, we got Brighton. We could have gotten, an easier team, I guess you would say. But we've gotten Brighton. And it's, it's sort of another test. It's another opportunity. And listen, for the very least, for all of them, if I'm the players, I go into that match, it's like, well, we're not in many competitions, so we better make sure that we win this one, because then it's just the Prem. So we got to win this one so we can play more matches, so we could get more game time, especially for some of those guys that, the guys that are starting. I think they have a responsibility. They owe it to their fellow teammates to make sure that we stay in this competition. So that there's more opportunities going forward for them. And then, if some of the guys that, haven't been getting a lot of game time or down the pecking order, if they get an opportunity in that FA Cup, well, then they got to go out there and make sure for themselves and for the club as well that, like, hey, this is sort of an extra game. This is an extra competition. Like, let's make sure we stay in this. Let's make sure we don't go out in this round and then we have nothing but besides sort of the Prem to compete in for. So, I always believed in my Teddy Short. That you did. I'll give you credit. Well, listen, it's not like I just didn't believe that he could stay fit. Yeah, I've always said that if he stays fit, he is a player that we could definitely use, and he's shown that. When we call him Shawberto Carlos, it's not. We don't call him Shawberto Carlos for nothing. We call him that because he stays fit, he plays, a certain amount of games, and he actually has like a good form and plays good. But that's quite impossible to do when he's there and then all of a sudden he's gone for 3.5 months and you don't see him, or 4 months or 5 months or whatever, So, yeah, I was, Lions surprised us all. It's an early Christmas present for me. I didn't know when he was going to come back. We had 23 votes in this poll, by the way. So, the poll that I was running was, should United sell Bruno? And by the way, if you didn't hit the like button, please hit the like button, get that done, people, because it is important to the channel. If you did, thank you very much, appreciate it. But we had 23 votes. Here's the thing for me as well. I'm gonna call out some of the. We've had 23 votes here. Why don't we have 23 concurrent viewers? These people are popping in, voting, and then they're leaving. Because we didn't have 23 concurrent viewers. I could tell you that because I could see the stats. So, but we had 23 votes. So people popped in here, voted, and then left. Um, but yeah, I had should United sell Bruno in the summer if a huge offer comes in? And 65% of people, which I don't know what that equals to out of 23, I'm not a maths guy, but 65% of people said yes, cash in and rebuild. 22% of people said no, build around Bruno, and 13% said only if he pushes to leave. So, quite overwhelmingly, more people are okay with him being sold or leaving the football club than they are not okay with him leaving, which I think is pretty much the general sense. I think, listen, I think everybody loves Bruno, but I think people are sort of looking at a bit of the bigger picture and they know what we need for the squad. And, you know, he is only getting older. And at some point, we are going to end up without him. And at some point, we do need to move on. So, um, Lyle says, beginning of this season, one match a week looked good on paper, meaning more work on the training pitch, but we needed more games for squad rotation and competition against the players in hindsight. Yeah. And, we sort of overlooked that aspect, I think, as fans, because, I mean, the main talk was mainly about, well, the players need more training because obviously when Ruben came in and, what was going on, playing 3 matches a week, and obviously his idea and the system is totally different to what we're doing. And, he doesn't have a preseason and stuff like that. And, it's impossible for him to do sort of the training that he needs to do. Do the training that he needs to do in the middle of that season when you're playing 3 matches a week. It's like you barely have time to do training at all. It's about like, you play a game, rest. You probably got another match coming up, so you can't really do training like that to the extent that you need to do it. And then really, 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 in hindsight, I mean, that's sort of what preseason is for, and he was going to get that. So, like, listen, could it? I mean, could we stand to benefit more if we have more time off? But no, I mean, usually we probably need a balance. I mean, he probably needed the preseason to work some things out, and we could very well use 2 matches a week right about now. If we were in the Carabao Cup or something like that, it would be 2 to 3 somewhere along the way. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it might be a bit of a thing to sort of keep focused to keep that feeling of the match. I mean, Jose Mourinho once said it famously as well, and he said it one time, and I did sort of tend to agree with him there. I believe it was him who said something about like, when yes, it's tough on the players, the scheduling to play, 2 to 3 matches a week. And, you do this for like months. And when you get towards the end of the month, like the body is like, sort of destroyed or it's falling apart and stuff like that. It's sort of wear and tear. But he also did say that, like, listen, when you go into a season and he's like, you're not in these competitions and like you get knocked out of Europe or you're knocked out of the FA Cup and, you have less things to play for. He did say that he generally finds that the players sort of, enthusiasm or like excitement, like the levels drop essentially because it's just like sort of less exciting. There's less things to sort of look forward to. There's probably also a less of a rhythm again. I mean, you play 1 match on Tuesday, you play another match on Saturday, and then you go back and play a match on Tuesday. Like, you're sort of keeping the feeling of the last match with you on a concurrent, sort of, it's just on a closer basis. So that has to play some aspect in it for sure. So, where is Anthony when you need him? No, we don't need him. We don't need him. Bloody lions chased him away. I think I chased him away. Honestly, Anthony is finding his form. It only proves that he's an emotional guy who needs more encouragement and correction with the team. Clearly, those are elements we don't have. He is flourishing. Well, I would also argue, Axe, that he's also playing for the team that he's playing for and that he's playing in La Liga football. So, again, if some Premier League team snaps him up and he continues that form and he's running rampant in the Premier League, I'll hold my hands up and say that I'm wrong. But until somebody does that, and I've seen nobody do it, until somebody leaves our football club, goes to the Premier League club and rips it apart, then I don't necessarily believe that, because even if we're not giving him encouragement and maybe connection, maybe we are lacking those things, I still don't think that his game is suited for the Premier League. And the Premier League is just a different, again, like just like how I said the Bundesliga, La Liga, different. It's different to the Premier League. So I think, I mean, to be fair, there was people in here. I don't know if it was Lions, but I know Richard was one of them for sure. Maybe it was Lyle, a couple others. I mean, if we went all the way back then when Ten Hag was still here, and sort of in the middle of that second season, I quite vividly remember people in the chat saying that they felt like Anthony's game would be well suited to La Liga football. And I think that they were right. Based off of what we're seeing. He went there, he plays exceptionally well. The pressure of Real Sociedad or Real Betis, whatever team it is not Manchester United. It's totally different story. So again, I think most of our problems are, you need to have a certain mentality, a certain attitude coupled with ability to play for a football club. And in the Premier League, you also have to, you have to handle the pressure. You need to be able to, you have to have some sort of mental toughness. So you can't just be any player. And, there's massive pressure at our football club. And I think our biggest problem has always just been bad recruitment, which makes it look like our football club has some sort of curse, or that, it's totally 100% rotten on the inside. I don't think it actually is. I just think a lot of the players that we bought are just really bad buys. I think they were always bad buys. They were bad buys for us. They were bad buys for the Premier League. Again, a lot of these players, they're not going to Premier League teams. We're not selling them to Premier League teams. There was sort of, I mean, if you look at Alenga, like he left us, he did very well for Forest. And who bought him? Newcastle? I mean, what's he doing there? He's not replicating what he did at Forest, maybe because he had more freedom at Forest. Maybe the system was better for him or whatever it is. But, a lot of these guys, they're going to different leagues in different countries, playing different football and different clubs, The only one that I will say always ever that was the hugest, biggest mistake that we made was obviously Alvaro Fernandes. We didn't give him an opportunity, and he's over there starting for Real Madrid. I think that was the biggest fuck up that we made. I haven't had a shower yet. That's why you left. RDE fam, I'm out of here. My time. Listen, when you put it in 0.0040, I don't know, you lost me, but early, very early. Gotta wake up, get back to work at 6. Got an app project kicking my ass. Yeah, you've been real busy. I know you have. So yeah, go kill that. Go do it. Thanks for being here, Lyle. So all of you, please do take care. Much love, Eric and RD. Well, much love to you. We'll see you next time as well. Richard says stay safe. Axe has left us as well. Cheers to all of you. Cheers. See ya. Yep. Lion says, oh shit, I just realized that your setup has changed. I was looking very slick, man. I was gonna ask you. I was gonna ask you and be like, did you not notice that we're not using, I'm not in a box anymore. Look, I'm free. I could do all sorts of things. I go back here. Look, I'm not in a box anymore. I have the freedom to move around. I have the freedom to do things. I'm not a mime anymore. I also got a little Christmas tree over there. So, yeah, listen, it's been good. I want to be real. I kept it going because a couple of you joined at the end because I was going to cut this show off at 45 minutes ago because I've been trying to keep them shorter. But, when some of my friends jump in here, I enjoy speaking to them, and especially that, Lions joined us and we haven't talked to him in quite a while, heard from him. So I had to keep it going. I got to do it for the people. So, listen, it was good to speak to you guys. Lions, is good to see you, and Richard, and, the others are always have been here for they've been around for a while now. Like, Axe is always here. Axe, I can't get rid of Axe. This guy just always is here. Lyle's always here. So yeah, listen, I will see. I don't know. I don't know when we'll go live next. Um, I might take sort of a personal day tomorrow. I guess it sort of depends. Freedom, all right. Compound says it's free. That's a good one. That's a good one. I didn't even think about it. I got free. I am freedom. I am freedom. I am Jaden Sancho. Listen, I don't know. I suck with the scheduling because again, we're a small channel. We rely sort of on news and topics and sort of trending stuff. Otherwise, it's not always really worth it. So I'm trying to think. I might take a personal day tomorrow. I might come back Thursday. I don't want to tell you I'm doing a show and then I don't show up. So, I'm not sure. But if you're in the Discord, I mean, I'll obviously keep you updated. So, you know, I'll let you know if I'm doing a show. You'll be updated. Richard says, thanks, Eric, and thanks, Lions. Thanks, everyone in the chat. Everyone stay safe and say well, you too. And, you know, I try to update you guys. I don't know if you see it, though. But listen, if you have the notification ons, and you should have the notification ons, you know, if you want to actually, you know, when we go live, it makes it easier for me and it makes it easier for you. If you have the notification on, the notification should be working. So 30 minutes before the show, you should get notified that we're going live. So I might take a personal day tomorrow, but I don't know what the news is gonna bring. So I mean, today was crazy. There was a lot of news. It was like Drama FC. There was so many things, transfer updates, Bruno Fernandes, Kobbie Mainoo, and all this stuff. So you know, we'll see what comes tomorrow. If there's like major updates, you know, I'll probably go live. If not, I'll take off a personal day and then I'll see, you know, kind of how the rest of the week goes. Probably be back for Thursday. But, you know, if anything, just keep a lookout. And for the remainder of the week, when we do go live, it will be at 8 p.m. UK. So this is the time that I'm going to start going back live again because I was trying to do 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock my time. I was trying to do 7 p.m. But it seems like it's a bit early for our people that we have and our viewers. And so, yeah, 8 p.m. UK will be going live. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to take the day off, but we'll never know. And I'll keep you posted. But if anything, definitely for Thursday, I'll go live again. And then we'll probably hit Thursday, Friday. And then we'll see about the rest of the week because we got the match on Sunday, and we'll probably do a watch along on Sunday because I've been doing a few watch alongs. So if you want to jump in for the watch along, if you're available, or even if you just come by and stop by and say hi before the match, halftime, you know, drop a like on the video, give a couple thoughts and bounce. That's fine too. So. We'll do that, and then we have the Red Devil recap after the matches as well. So, yeah, just be on the lookout. I'll try and keep you guys updated. I know I make it difficult, but sometimes, like last week, I think it was Saturday. I was gonna do one, but there wasn't really anything to talk about. I don't really want to be forcing shows, and I wasn't really feeling up to it either. So I just really didn't do one, and then I felt kind of bad because I told everybody that I was gonna do one, and I didn't do one. So. Yeah, I mean, just keep on the lookout. I mean, every day, if you want to check somewhere around 8 p.m. UK, just look. You should see, the thumbnail up. If you see it, then we're going live. If not, then we ain't doing a live that day. So, again, thank you guys. I appreciate every single one of you. It was good to see you guys. It was good to speak to you guys. Thank you to everybody that smashed the like button. If you didn't hit the like button, just please make sure you do it on the way out because it is a massive help and it is massive to the channel. So, just get that done for me, please, and thank you. And then, we'll see each other either tomorrow or on Thursday for sure. Thursday, maybe tomorrow, but we'll see. Anybody that's in the Discord, we'll chat in the Discord later, and or at any time. So, Lions, if you want to, I know you're in there, so we could pop back in there. if you want to say a couple things and stuff. For those of you that aren't in the Discord, I have it linked all over the channel. I mean, it's in the pinned link, it's in the profile of the channel and stuff like that. If you want to jump in there at any time, you're more than welcome to. And other than that, yeah, be good, stay safe. Thank you guys for the support as always, and we'll speak to each other very, very soon, and we'll see what United brings us in the next day or two. It's really never a dull moment, and when it's quiet, you start sort of suspecting things. So other than that, yeah, thanks guys, have a good night, appreciate every single one of you. It was good to speak to all of you. I'm really happy that Lines came in here, man. I saw, but we missed you for a while. The show's been a little bit, it hasn't been, it doesn't feel the same. Everybody's got their own sort of thing, and I love everybody, but I've missed the opinions, I've missed the inside, I've missed you being in here supporting the channel as well. So I'm glad you had some time to jump back in, man, and at least just say hello. So it was good to hear from you. So yeah, man, cheers to you too. Thank you. Everybody have a good night. Stay safe, and we'll see each other in the next day or two. Take care.